Hello everyone, if you're new to my channel, consider liking and subscribing. It will make me feel wonderful if you do that. Thanks. By the way, I also have another Naruto and Luffy fanfiction channel. If you are interested, link is in the description.
New Seas Ahead by Peacelight24. Nakama means you never have to say goodbye or be alone, in which Monkey D. Lucy, future Pirate King, and Roronoa Zoro, future world's greatest swordsman, are dumb and everyone else is long-suffering. Or, things with them are always do or die, and love is just the same. Nakama ship, pining, Zorox Fem Lucy. Adios.
We're there, Nami cries breathlessly, the red line. Lucy, unable to contain herself, climbs up to the figurehead and bounces a little on her toes. Rising against the blue of the sea and the pale edge of the sky is a long, red strip of stone. Lucy can tell it must be huge, because it's still a ways off and it looks pretty big already. She supposes that makes sense for a wall that wraps all the way around the world. Amazing, she breathes, and settles her right hand on Shanks' hat. She can't wait to see him again, she has a treasure to return. She still has a long way to go, but now, well, that's what the red line is, isn't it? Once they cross it, she'll be beyond the halfway point. She'll be closer to the end than the beginning. I'm coming, Shanks. Just like we promised. 1558. Zoro presses down on his right arm, his left holding a bar with 800 pounds attached horizontal to the floor. He holds, forcing his abs to contract and his legs to stay straight as he uses them to balance. It hurts. He presses down, and for a moment he's not holding weights against gravity. He's pushing for all he's worth against a metal man who's just too powerful to cut. 1559. His shoulder burns and there's a flash of remembered agony, pain he can't forget even if he tried. 1560. The burn spreads, hot and uncomfortable, down his arms and into his chest. It's not the good type of burning, either, which heralds new muscle growth. This is deeper. 1561. If you wish to die for this girl, share her suffering. And he had. He doesn't regret it. So why? He presses down and holds, his shoulders shaking. His chest gives a warning clench, and Zoro can feel the arrhythmia in his heartbeat. I am naive, he growls to himself, and to his disgust he's forced to drop the weights to lift himself back up. He holds that position for a while, just trying to make the burn go away without giving up completely. He thought he was stronger than this, than that. After Eni's lobby, after they confronted an elite military force that had never before been defeated, Zoro thought. Well, he knew he still had a long way to go to reach the top. He knew that. It's just. Lucy hangs limp and still in Kuma's massive paws. The gap is still wider than he thought. He picks up the weights again, and ignores the dangerous tremor in his heart. I can't stay like this, he grunts. The fire in his blood eclipses the lingering, malignant weakness. I must become stronger. For his dream. For Lucy's. For everyone's. If Zoro can't be Lucy's trump card, a precision battering ram that can take care of anyone she's too busy to handle herself, well, what good is he? He thinks, again, of the kiss she branded on him. It never leaves his thoughts long. He thinks it was an offer, one he isn't ready to take her up on, one he doesn't yet deserve to claim. 1562, 1563, 1564, 1000. Fishman Island scares Nami. Lucy's known that ever since they brought up going there back at Water 7, and she understands why. She'd be pretty upset if she suddenly had to get along with the celestial dragon that killed Sabo. Not all fishmen are like Arlong, and Nami knows that. It's like Granny Kokura and Frankie's friend Tom. They've met a few others, too, along the way. Besides, Arlong is long gone and he's never gonna bother anyone ever again, especially not Nami. Hachi is a different story. Zoro said back then that Hachi offered him a ride, didn't seem too malicious until he tried to kill them on Arlong's orders. And now it turns out that Hachi is friends with their new mermaid friend Kami, who is really nice and insists that Hachi is nice, and Lucy already promised she'd rescue him. They all did. But Hachi hurt Nami in the past, hurt her irreparably. Asking her to help him is like asking Lucy to be friends with the celestial dragon guy. It's unreasonable, unfair. It's only Nami who can decide if she's willing to let go. Lucy refuses to force her to do it. Lucy hopes she lets it go. Holding grudges only hurts the bearer, and Lucy hates the idea of Nami stewing on something like that. But if Nami gives the word, Lucy will turn the ship around and order a coup de burst to get out of here. Let's save Hachi as well. Lucy gives her a questioning, somewhat concerned look. Nami shrugs and offers a smile. Hachi's harmless, really? Nami tilts her head, eyes mischievous. And we can't break our promises so easily, can we? Lucy grins, and knows she's got the best crew in the whole world. Nope. Lucy breaks through a wall, screaming her head off and shouts, "Incoming!" Zoro tenses, and it aggravates his wounds. Apparently even swimming is difficult for him now. He doesn't let the pain show and starts jogging toward Lucy with Sanji at his side. Lucy, what? The wall Lucy smashed through crumbles. Lucy reaches them in a few quick strides, and stops before them. Zoro and Sanji flank her, with Hachi and Kami behind. The dust clears and there's a yak. Yeah, a yak. A massive yak the size of a building. And there's a guy riding it. Where do people find these things? Actually, no, he doesn't want to know. If Lucy finds out, she'll insist on trying to keep one. Feel the wrath of Motobaro, Sanji's wanted poster doppelganger cries dramatically. His horns rip holes in hell and smash the dreams of men. Lucy cracks her knuckles. I got this. Zoro shrugs. He's still injured, more than he thought he was. It's just a yak. Lucy can take care of it. Sanji does his hand-wringing thing. I would be delighted to take this issue off your hands, fair Lucy-san. You needn't trouble yourself. Lucy just rolls her shoulders. I got this. Sanji makes a whining sound in the back of his throat but steps back to better protect the merfolk. If you insist, Lucy-san. Zoro rolls his eyes. Onward, Motobaro. The yak roars and charges them. Lucy walks forward, casual as ever, and hat tipped down low over her eyes. The blue, frilly top Nami wrangled her into fluttering a little in the wind. She looks cute, like an average 17-year-old girl. It's a weird, somewhat incongruous image. Lucy looks tiny compared to the yak, and yet, there's something about her that makes her seem powerful, indomitable. Lucy tilts her head so in his mind's eye Zoro can see her grin, and simply says, there's no reason to fight. Something slithers up Zoro's spine. It makes the hair on the back of his neck prickle, makes adrenaline flood his system. It's nothing overwhelming or even particularly alarming, it's just. There's a predator in his midst. He glances around, and sees Sanji do the same. The yak rears back on his haunches, groans, and tips over. Zoro frowns because even for Lucy and her weird affinity for bloodthirsty animals that was odd. The big ones usually require a punch in the face, at least. Lucy looks equally confused, and tilts her head. Mr. Yak? No response from the animal. Swirly doppelganger sniffles a little. Zoro looks at Sanji. Sanji looks at Zoro. Attribute all things strange to Lucy-san? Fuck, that could be the Straw Hat motto. Yeah. There's one thing you gotta promise me, Hachi lectures. Lucy can't get over the bubbles, so she's only sort of paying attention. This place is so cool. Sure, it's interesting that the trees are all stripy like that. She'd ask Robin for an explanation, but last time she asked for an explanation on a natural phenomenon, Robin spent 20 minutes rambling about the chemical structure of an air molecule. Lucy just started novels meant for teenagers. Okay, she's not up for a discussion on air molecules. There are people called world nobles here, since their holy land is so close. No matter what happens, the grave, serious tone in Hachi's voice catches Lucy's attention. You must not interfere with them. Gur's behind her neck. She doesn't really care about fancy people anyway, okay. But Hachi seems to realize that she isn't taking this as seriously as he is, and he jumps in front of her. I mean it, promise me now, even if they kill someone before your eyes, pretend you didn't see it. Lucy stops and stares him down. Lucy's not one to make a lot of moralistic judgments, but that sounds, well, wrong, doesn't it? Isn't that wrong? Lucy's pretty sure that's wrong? But something rings a bell in her head. This fearful behavior, the way Hachi's voice shakes and the seriousness of his expression. The world killed him, and no one else. The world nobles? He couldn't mean, not the celestial dragons? Sabo. Lucy was willing to try. Okay, she was willing to wait and judge the world nobles on an individual basis. See if maybe the one who killed Sabo was just a rotten apple. She even managed to pretend everything was fine, even when Robin and Nami gave her a couple of weird looks. The one who killed Sabo was, apparently, not that far from average among them. First there was a pirate turned slave, and the thought of that makes Lucy sick, going from the freedom of the sea to being owned by pigs who have never seen the world, who escaped and was nearly decapitated for his efforts. Lucy thought that was the worst thing she'd see that day. Then Lucy is forced to her knees, and it rankles because Lucis never bowed so low for anyone, not even people she likes and respects. But everyone is bowing and Hachi and Kami are shaking, and Lucy remembers what Robin said, about doing as the locals do. So Lucy bows because it seems like that might be easier on her friends. And then the dragons show up. Actually, their dog shows up first, also wearing a bubble mask. What is with these people? And pees on the escaped slave. No one in the crowd even bats an eyelid. They're too busy trembling with fear. A couple people pray silently. Lucy can only tell because she sees their lips move in fast, panicked ways. Then the dragons arrive, and they look like the least fearsome things Lucy has seen since entering the Grand Line. They look frail and weak, almost like grass. They wear weird, white suits with no form to them, and have bubbles around their heads. Lucy tries to get a better look, but Hachi forces her head down, and she listens, more and more appalled, as they complain about the pirate, his attempts at escape, how he should have just laid down and taken the drugs, accepted slavery when. Well, no pirate would ever do that. If these guys don't even know that, then they don't know anything at all. Then the girl with strange purple hair that's twisted up in a curly style that looks alien to Lucy, walks sedately up to the fallen man, and kicks him with pointed, heeled boots. He can't even move anymore, whispers Lucy. On instinct she starts to get up, starts to struggle against Hachi, but he seems to expect this and immediately leans all three of his arms on her back, forcing her down. Lucy glares at him, but Hachi just looks down at the grass beneath his fingers and shakes his head. The purple-haired woman raises her gun and declares, "This one is useless to his creators. Mere humans, how sickening." It happens too fast for Lucy to do anything about it, too fast for her to react because she was worried about injuring Hachi, and Kami has hold of her other wrist and she struggles but. The gun goes off, firing light and ending the man's life. He had a family, he was ranting about a family, he was crying for them. Hey, Hachi's hand covers her mouth and Kami's thin arms wrap around her waist. Lucy could shove them off. It would be easy. But they're friends, and she can't hurt friends. Lucy sends a glare Hachi's way instead demanding release, but he just forces her to the ground as the dragons waddle by, completely unconcerned with the murder that's just taken place. Lucy struggles against her friends, but they just cling tighter, confident that she won't hurt them. They're right of course, and Lucy can only watch the dragons leave following their every movement with fire in her gut and the instinct to fight, kill, end it for them. Their murders, roaring in her blood. Especially when they start speaking of new slaves. I want a giant next. No, start with a human child. They won't fight you so much then, but I so detest the weak. Once they pass there's a moment where everyone left alive just stills and accepts that they survived the encounter. Then the bystanders get up, and walk away, quickly, determinedly, and without making eye contact with anyone. They especially don't look at the dead man who still smells of dog piss and smoke. This is what happened to Sabo. A monster like that killed him, killed a child, and the people of Goa did nothing, they just. Hachi and Kami release her, but it's a long time before she speaks. Lucy only has eyes for Kami as she runs down the steps. She can't stop thinking about the man in the street, about Sabo, and she detests seeing her friend in a tank like that, with a collar around her neck and desperation in her eyes. How dare someone try to sell Lucy's friend? How dare they try to put a price on someone like that? On the way down, she knows she's causing an uproar. Lucy doesn't care. People can think what they want. A gunshot. A groan, and a loud crash as silence fills the auditorium. Lucy turns slowly and sees blood trickling down the steps and pouring from Hachi's 6 limbs as it spreads from his chest like water. He's face down on the steps, he's not moving, and above him, a fat man in a white robe stands above him, sniffing loudly, and waving a smoking, golden gun. He's smiling. Look, look, I caught a fish, man. I didn't even use a net. He giggles, and dances in place. Father, father, look what I did, a fish man. Oh, thank goodness, someone shot him. I was afraid he was going to spread disease or something. The world noble waves the gun around carelessly, and wobbles down a step, still giddy. I shot him, father. That means I get to keep him, right? For free? The noble's voice screeches up into a truly inhuman register as he laughs and sings, free, free, the octopus is free to me. Everything is red. Lucy can't see the people in the auction house, Kami, not even her nakama. All she sees is the crimson of Hachi's blood and the white robes of the noble. She doesn't even register moving until Hachi's arms wrap around her, restraining. Lucy doesn't take her eyes off the noble, doesn't for 1 second feel the fires of her rage quell, but she doesn't move, either, because some instinct fears for aggravating Hachi's wounds. Wait, Straw Hat, Hachi pants. He's in so much pain he can't even focus his eyes on her, and his grip is weak. It was my fault. Shouldn't have been here. It's not a place for me to go, like it's his fault. Like Hachi did anything here but exist. Lucy carefully unravels Hachi's limbs from her frame, and bends down to rest them gently, almost maternally, on his chest. Wanted to help you guys though. Make up for what I did with Arlong and Nami. I'm a pirate, a bad person. I've never been a good person, so maybe I can make up for it like this, with punishment. He gasps, and tears start to stream down his face, his voice growing faster with panic. You promised, Straw Hat, you did. I wanted to make it up to Nami, so I made sure you promised, but I'm useless. Can't do anything right, I'm sorry. Shut up, you damn fish. Looses faster than the bullet, and her hand snakes out before the noble's shot can hit. It rebounds harmlessly off her skin, and she stands slowly, taking her time with her rage. She wants to tell Hachi not to worry, that a person like this noble doesn't scare her, that she's spent the last 10 years making sure she could protect her friends from the likes of him, from the world itself. She wants to explain to her injured friend that what he deserves doesn't matter, because he's her friend now and he's trying, and he's Kami's friend too. SBE trying to live for her sake if nothing else. But she doesn't say anything at all, because words aren't necessary just now. Instead she lets fury stoke fire in her blood as she turns to her prey. The noble sees her coming, watches her approach with more and more panic in his eyes, and Lucy thinks, good, you should be afraid. The noble's face scrunches in something resembling childish confusion. What's with that face, commoner? Lucy doesn't stop, just walks slowly up the stairs. Stop. You're filth. The noble waves the gun in a fretful motion, endangering half the people in the audience with the potential trajectories. Those aren't for threatening people. Shanks' voice comes back to her, low and confident and terrifying and comforting. She's never forgotten. Not once in 10 years. The noble fires at her, and fires, and fires. Lucy doesn't stop. People are shouting now, but Lucy can't pick out any important voices, doesn't care to listen to the rest, to the people who would let an atrocity like this pass. Stop, in the name of the creators, stop, 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 Santo. You piss me off, Lucy roars, and the noble crashes into a wall at the back of the auction house. It feels good. It feels like standing up for Sabo and Hachi, and every slave that's been sold today, for the pirate who was killed in the street. It feels like a broken nose and a burning flag. Punching the dragon feels good because she's angry, but also because they're not fucking right. Something opposed to freedom. Right, Ace, it always comes back to freedom, doesn't it? Freedom, and maybe pain, experience. The dragons are like children in grown bodies who don't know pain or life. They are shriveled things which are barely human, much less so than the slaves they burden with their monstrosity. She can't even hate them properly. There's nothing there to hate, no substance to their evil. She's just disgusted by them, repulsed, and it infuriates her. There's a solid 10 seconds of silence, and the only thing Lucy hears as she restrains her wrath is the cracking of her own knuckles. Then people start losing their fucking minds. All around her the fancy people in jewels and silk start wailing, crying, moving as far away from her as possible. Lucy glances around, notices a group of 10 or so pirates that don't move and are in fact grinning, and then looks up at her crew. Sorry guys. I hear if you punch one of them an admiral shows up with a battleship. None of her nakama look particularly upset about this. Zoro returns Kitetsu to his sheath, the blade already half drawn. He looks vaguely annoyed, but there's amusement in his eyes, maybe fondness. It's nice to see after the last week of banked anger and frustration there. You just had to punch him, didn't you? He frowns, maybe a bit disgruntled. I wanted to cut him. Lucy beams. Lucy doesn't really get why these other pirate captains are hanging around with her, but whatever, she could totally take out the Marines by herself. But Robin pulled her aside to mention that scoping out competition isn't a bad idea, especially since they're on her side this time, so here she is. Lucy doesn't really care, so long as they don't get in her way. She's still pretty pissed about that guy shooting Hachi, and one punch is not enough to abate that, no matter how taboo it might have been. Seriously, the guy's just lucky she didn't bazooka him back to the reverse mountain. Fucking pansy-ass weakling. Unfortunately, T-something and Kid's determination to prove themselves seems pretty equal to her remaining fury. She's not sure why, exactly, but they seem to be vying for top dog. Fuck them, Lucy's top bitch, and they better not forget it, the bastards. I'm telling you, I don't need your help, Hat Guy insists. Both of you just wait inside for a while. Yeah fucking right, Lucy scoffs. She's still burning inside, and she's ready to break skulls. Especially the skulls of people willing to defend that clod of human feces. Huh. Her reading and vocabulary lessons with Robin are really starting to pay off. I'm not passing up on a chance to kill some gulls. Lucy can tell Kid has killed before, and that he liked it. Lucis killed before too, but she never enjoyed it. She believes what Shaki said, about him killing civilians and bystanders. There's a bloodthirstiness about him that Lucy doesn't sense much in people as powerful as he's supposed to be. Usually it's just wild animals, and sometimes Zoro. But Zoro restrains that side of himself. He doesn't like it, doesn't let it run wild. He uses and maybe enjoys it when he needs to, when it's appropriate, but he doesn't let it control him. She's pretty sure Kid doesn't think about things like Zoro does. People like Kid die quick. Or that's what Gramps used to say, anyway. Kid is either lucky or better at restraining himself than he seems. Just don't get in my way, she tells both of them. She gets two offended looks in response. You may have a higher bounty than me, but there are only so many judicial islands to storm. Hat tells her, a bit petulant. First off, Lucy doesn't give a shit about bounties. She just wants to punch things. Second, Lucy doesn't know why everyone's so interested in that whole thing. They took Robin, so she took Robin back, end of story. That was boring. Sky Island was cooler. Hat shoots her a glance that could be curious, could be confused. Lucy doesn't care. He resumes a tough swordsman act. Zoro's is better, because Zoro is, first and foremost, a tough swordsman, so it's not an act. Lucy isn't really sure what to make of Hat Guy. He seems, alright. He doesn't piss her off like Kid does. He doesn't seem like a brawler, not like her and Kid. He doesn't even seem like a melee fighter, like Zoro, despite the sword. He's too patient for that. Lucy decides to reserve judgment. My bounty is the highest one this side of the Grand Line. If anything, you guys are getting in my way. Fuck off, Kid. I'm still pissed, I'm going to punch them. Has anyone ever told you you're a very violent little girl? That's Kid again. Fuck him. Shit, you should meet my navigator. That hat suits the Dauntless very well. It's a weird thing to say. Even weirder to greet someone with it. And for some reason, even as Rayleigh tells them about Roger, the Pirate King, Rayleigh knew him personally. That sticks in her head. Then Rayleigh name drops Shanks of all people. Shanks was on Roger's ship? That explained a lot actually. Like how Rayleigh recognized Shanks' hat. And how Shanks knew all those stories about Roger that Lucis never heard anyone else tell before. And why Shanks is so strong now. She's still a bit shocked though. Rayleigh takes her reaction in stride, and grins at her. I met up with him again about 10 years ago, right here. He was missing his hat. And an arm. Rayleigh's eyes twinkle. When I asked about it, he started talking about you. He seemed very fond. Something warm and painful clenches in Lucy's chest because, well, Shanks has always been really important to her. She thinks about him a lot. She only really knew him for about 2 years, and even then he was only in Fuchsia intermittently because he used it as a base while traveling in East. He's the closest thing she's ever had to a dad though, and she likes to think that, maybe, she's kind of important to him, too. That he didn't just forget about her when he left. Part of her knows that's silly. He lost his arm for her, and he gave her his hat. She knows Shanks cares, but to hear that he talked about her to someone who is presumably important to him. Well, that must mean Shanks thinks about her sometimes too. Will you tell me about him? She asks eagerly. Important as Shanks is to her, she doesn't actually know much about him. She knows the important things. Like that he's a good person, he protects his friends, he believes in her, but not much else. Plus, it's been 10 years, and Lucy was just a kid. She doesn't like to think she's forgotten anything about him, but… Rayleigh grins and the wrinkled skin around his scar tightens. I'm not gonna go telling stories about him that he hasn't said himself. But congratulations on making it this far, I'm sure he's eager to see you in the new world. And if Rayleigh says so, Rayleigh must have known Shanks for a long time now, because Shanks isn't that old, was probably just a kid on Roger's ship. Then it must be true. Really? She asks excitedly. I can't wait to see him again, she frowns. But I have to become Pirate King first. That's the deal. Rayleigh looks amused, and then sends her a questioning glance. I suppose you want to ask me about the treasure then? Lucy slams her plate down on the counter so hard it cracks down the middle. Don't say a word about it, she hisses. Rayleigh just looks at her, and Lucy can tell he's sizing her up. Hey, Lucy, Usopp interjects. Maybe we should. I don't want to know, Lucy declares, refusing to break eye contact with the old man. I don't want to know about the treasure, if it exists, where it is, or anything else. I'm conquering the Grand Line, just like everybody else is trying to, and I won't cheat or be boring about it. If you say a word, I'll quit being a pirate, she threatens, just to get her point across. Usopp splutters in the background, but Rayleigh just cocks his head to the side. And what will you do once you're king? Who are you trying to rule? Lucy snorts. I'm not gonna rule anything, she grins wide, I'll be free. Nothing about Rayleigh's expression changes, but there's something different about his gaze. He's not calculating or sizing her up. It's more like he's memorizing her. I'm really becoming a big fan of yours, Monkey-chan, Shaggy tells her. Lucy ruling anything would be a disaster, Nami agrees. There are noises of assent from her crew, but Lucy doesn't break eye contact with Rayleigh. I'll have your ship ready in 3 days, the old man says finally. He turns to his drink and Lucy goes back to polishing off everything in the fridge, since Shaggy doesn't seem to mind. We appreciate it, Sanji concurs. Everyone watches the old man leave, his white cloak around his shoulders. Rayleigh, Lucy decides, is a weird guy. She can see why the Pirate King liked him so much. Something's not right with this fight and it's screwing with Zoro's head. It's Kuma but it's not. It's a monster but it's a machine, he can't. He ducks under one beam, slashes at the thing's legs, and then does an awkward twist to try and avoid the other hand. It pulls at his chest, at the deep, residual pain that hasn't gone away since Thriller bark, and he nearly collapses on the spot. Stop getting distracted, Moss head. Zoro rolls out of the way, and comes up to his feet with 2 swords in hand. Shit, every time the thing moves Zoro sees something else, a different place, a diss the real Kuma. Sees how overpowered and overwhelmed he is, feels the moment he realized he was too weak too. Zoro. He dives out of the way just in time, comes up to his knees, and instinctively clutches at his chest as the pain flares. This Kuma is different. Last time Kuma talked to them, responded, treated them like ants, but at least treated them as people. This time, nothing. It's half of what tips Zoro off to the fact that this is a fake. Zoro runs forward to back Lucy up. Wado and Kitetsu balanced carefully in his hands. Lucy aims a punch to the thing's neck, and Zoro follows up with a Nitoryu move he has yet to name. They barely make a dent. Zoro shifts, stumbles, and… Shit, he's on his back. Zoro, Lucy calls, and Zoro pushes himself up because damn it, he's not supposed to be a person Lucy worries about. Move, Moss head. Zoro looks up just in time to see a beam levered straight at him burn through the air. He rolls to the side, just missing the brunt of it, but then the earth around him explodes and… He manages to hang on to his katana, but barely, and he lands hard on the ground, feels one of his still healing ribs crack apart, feels air rush out of him. He chokes for breath and his chest seizes again. The way it has been since the last time he saw Kuma, since he took Luce's pain as his own. Just stay down, Moss Head, you're still injured from last time. Screw you, he groans, and tries to push himself up again. Zoro, it's okay. You're still hurt. Lucy tells him he can picture the smile on her face, kind and warm and reassuring. And that hurts because she's never needed to direct it at him before. They've always fought together, never like this. Goddammit, what good is he if he can't even do this? Lucy's given her crew the order to run. Lucy never thought she'd have to do that, but she did. And now 3 groups of 3 are splitting up to regroup in 3 days, and Zoro is a mess and an explosion rocks the forest. Lucy's nowhere near it, but she's thrown into a wall anyway. Zoro, Usopp calls, his voice high and worried. Everything in her runs cold because Zoro. Normally Lucy doesn't worry in the heat of battle. Even with half his innards hanging out of his stomach, Zoro can put up a good fight, can protect himself and everyone around him, but today Zoro's still not well. It's been 2 weeks since he was injured on Thriller Bark and still. She knows he isn't okay. She knows that something has been bothering him, that his head isn't quite together. She's been waiting for him to come to her, or waiting for an opening to talk about it, more accurately, but she hasn't gotten the chance. Sometimes he rubs at his sternum, like his heart aches. But now here they are, facing opponents it takes her entire crew to fell, and Zoro just, Usopp sounds. Zoro, she screams. There's no answer, not from anyone. Get away from Zoro, damn it, Usopp yells, and there's a tall guy in a white cloak wearing a yellow suit and she can see Zoro's red and white shirt. He isn't moving. Why isn't he moving? That man's an admiral, Robin screams, and Lucy swears her heart stops for a moment. Zoro, she screams, like that will help anything. Please, please, don't let him die. The admiral raises his leg, and it's glowing the same color as the beams, and he can't move, she screams. Vine to Fleur, Robin calls, and a row of arms sprout up in the grass to roll Zoro out of the admiral's range, but it's not enough because Kizaru just disappears in a flash of light and steps on Zoro. She's shaking, equally furious and terrified. Your struggling is futile. The admiral informs them, and Lucy starts running forward, trips over herself to get there because Zoro, this is Zoro. She doesn't make it, but Rayleigh does. Lucy sees this for what it is, a sacrifice on Rayleigh's part, and an offer, a chance. Everybody run. Think only of escape. Leave me. It comes out barely audible, but it's all Zoro can manage. Usopp hefts him over his shoulder again, and Zoro feels a broken rib catch his lungs. What? No. I'm the one they want. You guys, escape. Zoro. Do you think I would ever actually be able to look Lucy in the eye again if I did that? You'd be alive. Yeah, don't count on that. You're just as useless as me right now, and Lucy said to go so we go. Zoro is about to protest. He's a liability, he can't move, he can barely see, and Lucy will cry more if all 3 of them die rather than just his useless ass. But then because life is shitty and he's a bad person the universe conspires against, Bartholomew fucking Kuma appears before them. Not the real one, but it's so close a likeness Zoro's joints lock instinctively regardless. Usopp wheels back, too fast, he nearly overbalances, and they're fleeing in a tangential direction while Brook holds the line. Should be me. Should be me. Zoro wants to scream, wants to push Brook to the side and take care of it like he always does, so Lucy doesn't have to worry and so his friends are safe. Lucy trusted them to him, called him and Sanji over like generals to take care of their family, and now he can't move, and Brook is about to. Fuck off, you shitty bastard. Zoro has never been more grateful to Sanji in his entire life. He can't see what's happening, couldn't, probably, even if he could open his eyes. But he hears a groan and then Usopp shouts, he's aiming for you, Sanji. Just run, you idiot. But Usopp proves himself a straw hat and doesn't turn his back to Sanji. Can't, probably, and then the world explodes and Zoro lands painfully on the sticky grass beneath him. Zoro, I'm sorry, and fuck, Zoro doesn't want him to be sorry. Zoro wants them to leave him so they can get to safety, keep carrying on, whatever. Zoro hears the low hum of Kuma's beam, hears it fire, and from a distance, Zoro hears Chopper scream, "Sanji." Fuck, not him too. Lucy can't hold this back by herself. Lucy. Lucy's alright, right? She at least got away. Please, please, let her be alright. A low, inhuman roar rings through the forest, shakes the trees and shit. Chopper panicked, didn't he? Usopp grabs Zoro again, manhandles him up so he can throw Zoro's incooperative body over his shoulder. We've got to get out of here, Sanji, Brook, that beam. Stop, PX1. Zoro looks up, forces himself to do so because he recognizes that voice. Another Kuma walks up to them, and this time, he's carrying a Bible. It's the real one. Usopp drops him in terror, but it's alright because this one Zoro has to stand for. There's no choice. Can't let him think he fucking beat him back at Thriller Bark. Can't let him think Zoro will just let the bastard trample over his family. If Kuma wants Zoro to take their pain, all of it, he will. It'll kill him, but he will with no regrets as long as everyone gets away. Zoro can't stand fully, can't straighten his spine even, and he's coughing up blood, but he looks Kuma in the eye anyway, refuses to back down. Just try it. See what I become. Kuma doesn't move, doesn't change anything about his demeanor or expression, but Zoro thinks there's something like respect around him anyway. Roronoa Zoro. Still alive, I see. Zoro's not joking when he responds with, "Thanks to your mercy." Kuma could have killed him in 100 easy ways, deflected his lungs from his chest or something, but he gave him the one out which let him only almost die. That doesn't matter if they don't live past today though. Where would you like to go on vacation? And Zoro thinks of vacation. Why would I need that? I'm happy as long as they're with me. There's a movement and a rush of air, and Zoro blacks out before he could ever hope to understand what happened. Lucy saw it, but she didn't. She doesn't understand. Is Zoro what happened to? Where's Zoro? Where the hell are you? Zoro? He can't be. He isn't. Zoro is strong, but gone. Just gone. You won't be seeing him again anytime soon, the large man behind her declares, and Lucy could just about oust Zoro. Zoro's gone, and this man knows. Where is he? What did he do to him? It's said that Lord Kuma can send a man flying for 3 days and 3 nights. He could be at the opposite end of the ocean, for all we know. And that's unacceptable because it's Zoro. Zoro, who is always by her side and who is so strong and steady behind her, who always lets her lean on him, who could be captain, a better captain than Lucy, but who stands with her anyway. He can't be so far away when he's injured, when he needs her. What? How does she get to him? How? Something in her chest expands and contracts so fast Lucy's almost certain she blacks out. But it's not. The rest of her Nakama are still here, for the moment, still alive, still with her. They just have to run, run, all of you. Get away from there. We can think about it later, just run. Lucy doesn't listen as the rest of her Nakama flee reluctantly, just watches in terror as Brook dives between Sanji and Usopp and the bear trying to kill her family. Brook makes a skull joke and then, gone. No, Brook just joined them, hasn't even completed one adventure yet, she can't. What am I doing? 2 of my Nakama, Sanji yells, maybe cries, and Lucy can feel her heart leap to her throat as he throws himself in front of Usopp, trying to protect him. I won't just watch. No, she can't lose him too. She can't, not another, please, not another, please. Sanji run. Sanji doesn't run, though. Sanji spins into a kick that could crumble buildings and brings it down on the menace attacking their friends. But it's no use and Sanji is sent spinning off into the forest behind the carnage. But she hears him crash and he doesn't vanish, so he's fine. For now, he's fine. But then the beast goes for Usopp and no, she can't handle it. That's her friend, that's her dearest Nakama, and she can't stop it. Her voice rings with Sanji's as Kuma brings his hand down on the boy and Usopp, gone. And Lucy tries to run to him, tries to do something, anything, but Sanji is closer and the man behind her won't let her pass and no, Sanji, not you too. Gone. What are we meant to do now? Kuma disappears and Robin shakes her shoulder, tries to get her to move, and then she hears him behind her, hears him speak to Rayleigh and the Admiral and you bastard, she cries, gear second. She rushes him but he's gone and then strong right, and oh, Frankie, run, gone. Frankie was protecting Nami and now she backs up. 1 step, 2, and she's shaking hard enough to fall apart. She's terrified, Lucy is too, and she tries to get to her, but Nami, Lucy, help em, gone. And the thing is, Lucy can't even see anymore for her terror and fury, can barely pick out the forms of Chopper and Robin, who are the last, who Lucy can't lose, and she roars her rage and Chopper is in his monster form, 10 meters tall and raging, and Kuma lets him approach and stop, she begs, and Lucy has never begged for anything like this before. Stop this, please. Gone. One left, no time to mourn, Robin run for it. But Robin stayed too long, was too loyal, too kind, and even as she makes a break for it, Lucy knows she won't escape, just like she knows she won't reach Robin in time, but that doesn't matter. They both try anyway, and Robin, who only just decided she wants to live, Robin reaches for her with her voice tight and eyes wide and terrified as their fingers nearly touch, and screams, "Lucy!" Gone. And Lucy can't breathe. Gone. All gone, they're all. She's on her knees, sobbing, and she scrabbles at the earth in an almost childish desperation for the world to right itself. She's unable to contain the horror inside, can't accept what's just happened. There's a beast in her body, gnawing at her mind and soul, and she can't. There's a whirlpool of darkness there, devouring her from the inside out, and it's made of guilt and shame and fear and loss. She's not. What's wrong with me? She sobs, her fingers ripping hair at the roots. I promised they'd never be alone, and I couldn't even save a single nakama. She registers footsteps, hears the heavy, lumbering gait of the man who destroyed her family, who she couldn't even stop, and never in her life has Monkey D. Lucy wanted to die, but this, her friends. Take me too. If you've taken them, then take me too. We will never meet again. Farewell. Gone. She's gone. Zoro wakes feeling like someone tried to tenderize him and stuffed him in a refrigerator for safekeeping. It's cold and damp, and when he manages to figure out how his eyelids work, there's stone above his head. Where? The Admiral. The machines. Kuma. He jerks up and screams as pain rips through his torso. His belly is on fire and he can't breathe, and what happened to the others? Where's Lucy? Is she alright? Where? What? There's another person screaming. He turns, ignores the ache in his neck, and it's that chick from Thriller Bark, the one that kept making him say all those weird shitty things. Why are you here? He demands, doing his best to roll to his feet. Where are my nakama? Where are my katana? The girl's expression changes from afraid to determined to annoyed. Then, sit down and go back to sleep, you're still probably gonna die. Why you? Negative hollow. The ghost flies through him, and I don't deserve to be alive. Lucy wakes in a forest, the sun streaming down, and thinks, where am I? Where are the others? Where? She's in a paw print. Did she survive because she's made of rubber? If so, the others? She doesn't know, can't know. Goddamn it, she whispers, goddamn it. She has to find them. She'll apologize and tell them she loves them, that she'll never fail them like that again. Wrangle Zoro into telling her what's going on in his head, and then maybe tell him she loves him in a different way. And the Vivre card. She takes it out, lets it lie flat in her palm, and it tugs against the direction of the wind. That way. If Lucy cries a little as she punches holes into mountains that stand in her way, well, no one's around to see it. No one. When Zoro next opens his eyes, he can't move, but the pink bitch is standing in front of him looking smug. How dare you do that to me? He growls. He has somewhere he needs to be, and this bitch is not going to stop him. Don't talk like that. The girl snaps. And then her voice lightens, and Zoro kind of wants to claw his ears out. It's not cute. You belong to me now, you understand? Yeah, fucking right. No way in hell. The girl tackles him, and Zoro barely stays upright, but wait, why the fuck can't he move? What are you doing? I'm going to take good care of you. Get the fuck off me, and, holy shit, is he in a bear costume? What the fuck is this? Kamashi. What did you do to me? Damn it, where even am I? Let go. Bad Kamashi. Fuck off. You gonna tell me where my katana are now? It took some doing to convince her to untie him, but she eventually seemed to get bored with him being stubborn, so she did it. Now the girl, Perona, apparently, since she didn't like being referred to as pink demon bitch. looks a little abashed, and the way she's twirling her hands kind of reminds him of Lucy when she tries to lie in okay. Yeah, that hurts a little or a lot since he has no idea where she is right now, or he is, or anybody else who matters at all, or if anyone but him survived. What are you leaving for? Perona demands, and, no, fuck her, he's not spilling his guts, none of your business. So what if she doesn't tell him where the katana are? He'll find them anyway and then fucking swim back to Sabodi if he has to. Fuck. Okay, so swimming might be hard. He's kind of, not in the best shape right now. He can tell Perona tried. But she's no doctor and all her bandages are looser than they should be. Doesn't matter. He's got to get back, needs to get back to Lucy and the rest and start training harder so this never happens again, and… You thought you could get away, did you? Zoro turns to see a massive hollow rushing him and… Fuck. Lucy is a fan of the Amazons. Seriously, they're awesome. It's really unfortunate they have prohibitions against outsiders because Sanji would love it there, but oh well. She doesn't even know if Sanji is alive, doesn't know if any of them are alive, but… It was super nice of Hancock to help her invade Impel Down though. Seriously, and she keeps bringing food. Do you like the Sea King meat, Lucy-chan? Yeah, it's great. And without Sanji's protein-reinforced meals she's been starving. I'm so glad. When we get married, do you want me to make it? Lucy looks up from the Sea King meat. You do realize I'm in love with someone else, right? That's why your power didn't work. And why we can't get married. Hancock pouts. But Lu-chan, she sniffs, like something smells really bad. He's a man. Zoro is a man. Zoro is a manly man. He likes sharp things and liquor and naps. He even has a complex about asking for directions. It's a really good thing Luce has figured out how she feels about him already because this would be much more complicated if she couldn't just tell Hancock straight out. He is. And he's a good man. I know you had some really terrible experiences, but those do exist. Luce is pretty sure Hancock is naturally one of those people who swings both ways. She's half convinced the Amazons reproduce as surely like those clone lizards Robin told her about once. But it doesn't surprise her that she prefers women. Lucy probably would too if she was a slave for 4 years and repeatedly. Well, what the three sisters implied was gruesome. Still, Lucy is not the person for Hancock. She's in love with Zoro, she just hasn't told him yet. She will, when she sees him again. She'd know if he was dead, right? Surely, if there was one person she could be certain of, then surely Zoro. It's so hard to find strong women though, a woman who can use Conqueror's haki. Hancock whines. He shouldn't keep you all to himself. Luce is still not entirely sure what this whole haki thing is, but she keeps getting more curious about it. Sounds like it makes people stronger. Way stronger. Sorry, Hancock. She may have overstated her and Zoro's relationship status a little, on accident, but, whatever, she didn't say anything that isn't true. Finishing her meal, Lucy walks over to the window and glances at the horizon. They're currently on a marine ship and heading for Impel Down, where Ace is being kept before his execution. He is going to be so mad at her for this. Well, whatever. If he's alive, that's all she really cares about. She hopes he's okay. His Vivre card says otherwise, but Ace is Ace. Ace is always okay. And he promised not to die, so it's fine. Thanks again, Hancock, for the food and the ship and the clothes. Margaret was kind enough to sew some more clothes for her. She tried to make them in the traditional Amazon warriors style, but Lucy insisted on pants and an actual shirt, which is good because Lucy has a lot less cleavage than most of the Amazons seem to. She's wearing her sandals still, but she's traded her shorts for a camel-colored pair of leather capris with lacing up the sides, and Nami's ruffled blue shirt for a black, high-collared blouse that cuts off at the waist, as she prefers. It's habit from all those years in the forest. If anything's covering her midriff, she's always paranoid about it getting caught on things. I still don't know why you wouldn't accept the skirt, Lucy-chan. It would look so good on you. Yeah, well, I don't know how you people fight in skirts, pants are easier. Well, in my case, showing off my assets is the only way to win. Lucy turns to her, curious, and that's all right with you? Hancock shrugs, and pops a grape in her mouth. Why wouldn't it be? I get to take revenge on those who try and objectify me almost immediately. Good point. And you, like wearing skirts? I do. Hancock tilts her head to the side, and her heels clink on the tiled floor. Do you not wear skirts, Lucy-chan? Nope. And she's good with things remaining that way. Have you ever tried? She's never actually? Well, suddenly she wants to try. It's almost like a mini-adventure. And she could use a mini-adventure right about now. Hancock seems to recognize her sudden interest. Here, she offers, a smile on her face. I have one with me that will be it's a long time before we get to Impel Down, so we may as well dress up a little. Is that like a makeover? Lucy asks, thinking about Long Rain and Nami giving her a haircut while Robin watched. Close enough, Hancock tells her easily. And she hands her a skirt before shoving her behind the partition. Just in case you're shy, she adds, smiling. Hancock really is pretty when she smiles. Lucy decides it's maybe best if she never, ever tells Hancock that. The other woman's head might explode. Lucy strips the pants, looks for a zipper or something on the skirt, and, finding none, pulls it on. It's too big for her. Hancock is taller and has a much fuller figure, but Lucy just pinches the waist behind her in a fistful of fabric, so the skirt is pulled tight against her legs, and steps out to look in the mirror Hancock set up. The skirt is canary yellow, and cuts off just above her knees. It's probably a bit more risque on Hancock, but it looks nice on Lucy at that length. With the black blouse she looks kind of sharp, might be the right word, even with her belly showing. It's not how she normally looks at all. But it's not bad, exactly. Just different. She feels the same, just girlier. She wonders if Zoro would like it. Ah, so pretty, Lucy-chan. Lucy turns to Hancock and smiles. It's a nice skirt. You can have it if you want. Hancock offers with a gleam in her eye that makes Lucy vaguely uncomfortable. When you get back from Impel Down, I'll keep it for you. Lucy smiles and shakes her head. Thanks, but I think it's the wrong size. Hancock frowns at the twisted lump of fabric in Lucy's hand, and shrugs. Oh well. I'll have one like that made for you, okay. Lucy figures protesting isn't going to get her anywhere productive, and neither is explaining that she has no intention to return to Amazon Lily. After she saves Ace she has to find out what happened to her crew and probably convene with Rayleigh. Thanks, Hancock. Lucy takes a few steps forward, just to test how it feels to walk in the skirt. Breezy. I still don't understand how you fight in these, Lucy insists. And she really doesn't. How do you even concentrate with that much air down there? And with heels? Hancock giggles, and Lucy hopes that the repeated rejections aren't going to affect their friendship because she's starting to like Hancock now that she's not being all prissy and irritating. Practice. When Lucy snuck into Impel Down, she was expecting it to be difficult. At no point did she think freeing Ace would be easy. But she hadn't expected the rescue attempt to take more than a day. She figured she'd have succeeded or died by now. She's been fighting non-stop for the better part of the last 30 hours, fought off a lethal dose of poisoning by shaving off a decade of her life, seen all 6 levels of Impel Down, just missed her brother, and now she has to climb her way out of the pit once more, and fight her way to Marineford to stop his execution. On the plus side, she reunited with Bon Chan. His timing was impeccable, but she wishes desperately that he chose anyone other than Zoro to make his entrance. And she's made good friends with Eva Chan and all the Okama in Hell people. She likes them. And they know her dad. Maybe. Lucy's not all that sure why they're helping her, but they are, and she appreciates it. Plus there's Jimbei, and she can trust him, she just can. But Lucy doesn't have time to dwell on her new and old friendships. She has just a few hours to get to Ace, and this guy just won't stay down. She's beaten him, repeatedly, but he keeps getting up. It's a testament to how exhausted she is that this is happening. Normally she could knock the guy out with one easy punch. But the vice warden, Hammy Balls or something, is determined, and Lucy is too exhausted to do much about it. Your only accomplishment is reaching infamy in the outside world, the vice warden spits, venomous. First as a pirate, and now as a rebel, Hammy uses his staff to push himself up, leaning on it heavily and panting hard. You will save your brother. How touching, coming from the S of society. Common people lose their loved ones day after day, and cannot sleep because people like you roam the seas. Blood splatters on the floor, dripping from Hammy's nose and several cuts earned by repeatedly slamming into concrete. Impel Down protects them all. If it falls, so does their sense of safety. Lucy doesn't care about any of that. Lucy doesn't really care if people think she's a good person. Lucy's not even sure about that herself. She just does what feels right at the time, and she knows Ace is the same. Lucy's not stupid, she knows some pirates are careless in a way she isn't, that they don't care about who lives or dies. She knows that for other people it's about violence and money rather than freedom and adventure. She just doesn't see why Ace should die for them. I just want to save my brother, she tells the vice warden. She doesn't really get why that seems difficult for these people to understand. Who wouldn't do everything in their power to save their brother? Who would just stand by? The vice warden glares, grits his teeth and, "Quit your yabberin' 'bout good and evil." No matter where you look, a large man in a black captain's coat trimmed in gold leaps from the stairwell and lands on Hammy's head. The man is down in an instant. The man who crushed him looks up, locks eyes with Lucy. There ain't no answer, ya dimwit. Lucy recognizes him. Pie guy? Lucy did not expect to see the man from Mocktown who comforted Nami and impelled down. Pie guy looks around, still standing on Hammy, and puts his hands on his oblong hips in a wobbly motion that's probably supposed to look dignified but doesn't. Well, it looks like there's been a real brawl here. Lucy's about to ask what's going on when Jimbei steps forward and roars, "Teach, what are you doing here?" Jimbei's eyes narrow and his voice darkens. "Or do I call you Blackbeard?" Blackbeard. So that's, hey, don't get so worked up, will ya? Blackbeard counters jovially, and then straightens in recognition. "Oh yeah, you and Ace were close, huh? But you're barking up the wrong tree if you're blaming me for what happened." Jimbei glowers and fury coats Lucy's veins. His fault. This is all his fault. She saw Ace's cage. She saw the dried blood on the chains, the floor, and she still can't get the stench of level 6 out of her nostrils. "You're Blackbeard?" The man in question looks down at her, and Lucy knows just from the way his mouth quirks and his eyes shine arrogantly that she's being summarily dismissed. "Oh yeah, I didn't introduce myself back then. Long time no see. I was surprised to learn you're the commander's sister, you know." What a twist of fate. There's a look of concern on his face that is utterly, completely out of place. "You okay with wasting time here? Ace's execution is about to start." Lucy's hands fist on their own. "You're the reason Ace got caught. You killed Nakama." Blackbeard's false, almost grandfatherly demeanor grows strained. "Like I said, blaming me for Ace is misguided, little girl. If anything, you're at least as at fault as I am." That stops Lucy cold. "What?" Blackbeard's smile grows sinister, almost malevolent, but somehow still remains friendly. That aura Lucy noticed in Jaya is back in full force. "You see, I wanted to take old Crocodile's place as a Shichibukai." Blackbeard shakes his head and tuts. "I wanted to prove I was a good contender for his replacement, so I was going to take your head in Water 7. You took him down, after all. Killing you would make me an obvious candidate to the powers that be. Ace confronted me before I could though." Blackbeard shakes his head in a casual, light way that in no way reflects the storm Lucy feels inside. "He was already after me on Whitebeard's orders, but after that, well, if he backed down it would bring shame to Whitebeard, but also leave you in danger. He didn't stop even after he was overpowered. So you see," Blackbeard chuckles, dark and jovial. "It's your fault as much as anything. Once I captured the Fire Fist it was easy to be recognized as a Shichibukai. Ace traded his life for yours." His crew nods, and the one with the rifle intones, "Luck and fate were on your side." "Lucky Lucy." The others cheered. "Lucky Lucy. You'll have to thank him at his grave." Blackbeard laughs, like the whole world isn't wrong. She's storming inside, too, because this makes. It all makes a terrible sort of sense. It's exactly the kind of thing Ace would do. He wouldn't run, not from anything, especially when Lucy was behind him. He is like Zoro, in a visceral way, and he'd never turn his back to his opponent. But where Zoro lives and dies by honor, Ace lives and dies through instinct. With Lucy at stake, nothing on this earth could have stopped Ace from fighting Blackbeard, not to mention all the stuff about Whitebeard. "Ace, you want to kill me so bad?" She growls, winds up, and shoots forward in gear second. "Well, why don't you try it now?" Lucy hits him exactly where she meant to. It connects right in his gut, sends him flying back into a wall. Blackbeard lets out a grunt, and sits up, clearly winded. I won't let Ace die, she screams. Jet, dark vortex. Lucy flies headlong into a dark shimmer, like a tear in the universe itself, and a hand wraps around her neck and squeezes. What? Blackbeard winds up, and brings her down into the concrete hard. She felt that. Blood gushes from somewhere, her nose maybe, or one of the infinite other injuries she's sustained so far, or maybe she's coughing it up now, but that didn't make sense because she's made of rubber, she shouldn't. It doesn't matter. She doesn't care if her limbs fall off, she's going to kill this man. She leaps at him once more, taking aim at the fugly smirk on his face, and then a massive wall of blue flesh and a dark red kimono get in her way. That is enough, Lucy-san, the large fishman intones. Think about what's more important right now. We must save your brother. He's the reason we have to save him. Lucy roars, squirming in Jimbei's grip. He used me against Ace. You must bear it, Jimbei demands loudly in return. And then he sighs, visibly trying to calm himself. I have known this man a long time. He has always been strange, but somehow he's gained enough power that even Ace think about it. Lucy-san. Jimbei shakes her. Just a bit. If you battle him now, you'll never be able to save your brother. And that's true. But still, Ace was chasing you because you killed Nakama. Lucy says quietly, but she knows Blackbeard heard her. Oh, I suppose that's true, Blackbeard responds, unrepentant and careless. Lucy hates with a sick sort of fury and revulsion that she's never really experienced before. Not only is he responsible for Ace's imprisonment, not only did he use Lucy against him, but he killed Nakama. The very thought of the same thing happening on Lucy's crew is laughable. It's also sickening in a way she never thought possible. She almost wants to throw up at the very thought, and this man just laughs about it. Jimbei. Let me go. The former Shichibukai considers her for a moment and then complies. She steps around her friend, and she looks Blackbeard in the eye. I'm going to save Ace, no matter what. She hopes he takes that for the threat it is. Blackbeard shrugs, and fills out his coats by replacing his hands on his hips. I'm not saying it's impossible. Hell, anything's possible in this world. You reached Sky Island, didn't you? He laughs, and Lucy can't help but feel it's hollow. Same goes for the One Piece. I'm sure it's real. Lucy doesn't glare, doesn't give him the satisfaction, but she does stare at him with intent. There's something deep in her bones that tells her the One Piece isn't meant for someone like him. That dreams are not the same as unadulterated ambition, that someone who values himself over everything sacred, Nakama, is so totally undeserving of the title Pirate King that the lack is almost humorous. And it would be, if Blackbeard didn't seem so determined, if he didn't seem to be pursuing his goal, their goal, with abandon. The One Piece will be hers. Let it go, Lucy-san. Jimbei intones lowly. She doesn't want to listen, she wants to fight, teach a lesson. But Lucy isn't Blackbeard, and this is like Jaya, like Shanks. Blackbeard isn't worthy of her dream, and certainly not worth Ace's life. Yeah. They made it onto the ship. They're heading to Marineford, and Lucy just left another friend behind. She didn't want to. She misses Bon-chan. She never wanted to sacrifice him. He should have just come with them, they would have found a way. She's grateful. She's sad. Every second that ticks by makes her skin itch. How long until they try and execute her brother? 4 hours? 3? Lucy's always been chasing Ace, ever since they were kids. She was an annoying little sister who tried to be as tough as him all the time. Even when he was trying to teach her how to be ladylike, even when he gave up on that. He was always just that little bit ahead of her, and just out of reach. This endless chase to free him feels like a mockery of their childhood. Jimbei approaches from behind. You should rest, Lucy-san. Ivan-chan has told me about your condition. And yes, Lucy is tired. She didn't know she could be this tired and still move, but it doesn't matter. The artificial adrenaline Eva-chan gave her is working, and it will continue to work, and if it doesn't, she'll crawl her way to the execution stand and stop the blades with her own 2 hands if she has to. Ace isn't dying, and she's going to rescue him. Lucy doesn't answer Jimbei. The Shichibukai sighs and leaves her in peace. Vaguely, she realizes that Zoro could get her to nap with him right now, or at least relax. Sanji would probably give her some energy-boosting drink, or something to calm her nerves. Nami would probably chide her for being so restless. and card her fingers in her hair. Usopp would sit with her and fidget and tell a story until she was sufficiently distracted, or she started to doze. Robin would sit and read with her. Frankie would distract her with crazy robot poses. Brooke would offer her tea and play some music. Chopper would probably try and sedate the tea and cuddle. God, she hopes they're alive. There's a deep ache in her, one that makes her lower lip wobble just a little. She misses them. If they were here, she wouldn't be worried at all. She'd be laughing right now, carefree in her ability to share the burden. But they're not. It's just Lucy, and the people she dragged from the depths of hell. The burden is hers alone. She runs her finger along the angry red scar on her palm, the one Kitetsu gave her. The scab fell off 2 days ago, on the way to impel down. The skin is still raised and hard, white and flaky in the middle. She wishes Zoro was here. He'd sit with her or stand behind her, warm and silent and steady. He probably wouldn't even say anything. He'd just be quietly, stoically there for her, and she'd feel better. Lucy covers her eyes with the brim of her hat, sitting atop the marine cannons, and wonders why the world seems so intent on tearing the people she loves from her side. It doesn't matter, of course. She's going to get them back. She's going to get them all back. Okay, so maybe her entrance on the battlefield at Marineford was unconventional. But at least they landed safely, in the one part of the ice thin enough to break, and as soon as Lucy realizes they've stopped moving, she scrambles. Ace, her heart beats, ace, ace, ace. She climbs the broken ship, scurrying over the fractured hull and up to the bow, and looks over the battlefield. Everything is white with snow and smoke. There's red that stands out harsh against the monochromatic background, and Lucy knows it's blood. A huge, hulking mass of orange and green that looks like a fallen giant, marines in white and blue, pirates in assorted colors, and 1,000 different abilities flash around her, disorienting and loud and deadly, but for the most part the fighting seems suspended. They're probably all a bit surprised at the ship that fell from the sky. Ace, 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 her eyes scan back and forth, the frost making it difficult to pick out where anyone is at a distance. But there, straight ahead, raised on an execution stand, is a shirtless boy with dark hair, kneeling on the edge of the platform and straining against his chains. Ace, she cries, relief not quite strong enough to make her voice break but close. Ace, I finally found you. She can't hear him over the din of the battle that rages around her, but she can see his mouth move, see his lips form her name, eyes wide with incredulity and horror. He's alive. He's alive, she's here, and she's going to save him. There's a murmur of confusion that ripples around her, across every corner of the battlefield. Her makeshift comrades are apparently recognizable enough to give everyone pause, and Eva-chan and Jimbei come up to flank her in a show of support as she drops into gear second. She's going to need it. She ignores the calls around her, the cries of recognition, the warnings. She doesn't care if these people know her or not. She's going to save her brother, opinions be damned. Lucy's about to jump into the fray, ready to charge, but there's a whisper of gravel behind her and she jumps down instead, dunking herself in the icy water around the sinking marine ship, and then leaps for the massive man who can only be Whitebeard. She's just in time to jump between the old man and Crocodile, and kicks the bastard in the face. Allying herself with him left a bad taste in her mouth, but she got here, and that's all that matters for now. Crocodile growls, upset. We had an arrangement, did we not? Why are you defending him? Lucy doesn't give a shit about what Crocodile of all people wants. Ace likes this old man. You're not touching him. Crocodile looks at her sopping form, and backs up, stymied. He's no match for her. He's been locked in a cell the entire time she's been improving, moving up and forward. Girl, says an old gravelly voice behind her, and Lucy turns just enough to acknowledge him while still keeping Crocodile in her line of sight. That straw hat looks just like the one Red Hair used to wear. Lucy glances up at the old man. You know Shanks? Yeah, I'm borrowing his hat. One of Whitebeard's crew comes up to corral Crocodile, and Lucy figures he's not going to get a hit on the old man anyway now that he knows the threat is there, so she turns to face Whitebeard fully at the same time the old man turns to her. I suppose you're here to save your brother, he states. Lucy nods sternly. That's right. Whitebeard frowns a little. There aren't many women on this battlefield. Lucy puts her hands on her hips. So, something sharpens in Whitebeard's eyes. I hope you understand what you're up against. you'll simply be throwing your life away. Lucy growls at him, and takes an aggressive step toward the massive man. It's not for you to decide how I live, old man. Whitebeard tilts his head, just so, almost appraising Ly. You know, I have no daughters on my ship. Would you like to be the first? Hell no. Lucy responds. Obviously not, she has a ship and a crew, and I'm the one who will find the One Piece. Lucy hears gasps arise from. Actually, the whole battlefield seems to have heard her, but she doesn't drop her gaze from Whitebeard, doesn't back down. That's her brother and her crew and her dream he's asking her to let go. Like hell. Then old man's sharp gaze shifts to something bright and heavy, and his lips curve up to a smile under his beard. Well, I'll be damned, he chuckles, and then his voice turns chiding. You better not get in my way, Greenhorn. Screw him, he sounds like Gramps. I'll do whatever I damn well please, and I'm saving Ace myself. She drops to a stretch, keeping Gear Second engaged. The black leather shorts she got from the Okama in Hell are a little stiff from disuse, but it doesn't bother her, and it's better than the fishnet stockings they wanted her to wear. Her yellow shirt is similar, the cotton heavily starched. But it's comfortable enough, it isn't a leotard, and at least it isn't covering her midriff or shoulders. Something else you should know, they're moving Ace's execution up. Whitebeard is still facing the plaza, where the Marines are pouring out from, but his eyes flash urgently to her face. Urea, there was some coded stuff that we couldn't catch, but the message came through clearly on the ship we stole. Muses Whitebeard. I guess that explains why you were so anxious to get on the battleground. Lucy looks up, frowning. Huh? Oh, the ship. Falling from the sky. Oh, no, that was an accident. Something about the way Whitebeard's lips twitch makes Lucy think he's both amused and incredulous. Of course it was. I'd expect nothing less from Ace's little sister. Lucy shrugs. She's here now, that's what matters. Anyway, you want to save Ace too, so I thought you should know. Whitebeard's face turns instantly serious. Yes, that's important information indeed. Thank you. Lucy stretches her shoulder by drawing her arm behind her head. There's a creeping ache in her bones and she knows with an unfortunate degree of certainty that she doesn't have much left. She's gotta make this count. No problem. She grins up at Whitebeard. See you when I've saved Ace. Whitebeard doesn't say anything, but she's pretty sure she sees him smirk as she takes off. If impelled down was hell, Lucy wonders what she's supposed to call Marineford. Ice slips under her sandals as she charges. The white frost and fog and snow disorient her, would make her unsure of her heading if she hadn't so determinedly located Ace, if her instincts weren't honed on her brother's vulnerable form. All around her, lights flash with powerful attacks and abilities, reflecting off the pale ice and snow, and agitating her reflexes. She ducks and dodges and weaves around blows that could take her head off, sever limbs, peel muscle from bone. She sees out of the corner of her eye a devil fruit using Pirate with the ability to melt people, and his victims' wails of agony shake the battlefield. One Marine seems to have the ability to control bone, and uses his victims to attack their own comrades. They cry horrified tears before their ribs are ripped out through their chests. Blood slicks the ice, stains the snow in her ankles and feet, and Lucy pays it no mind. Ace, her heart beats, Ace, Ace, Ace. She doesn't fight if no one confronts her, and even when she has to, she doesn't bother finishing the job. She has one goal, one objective. Everyone on this battlefield is strong. She doesn't have time to fight them all. She can't. Ace, Ace, Ace. Kizaru's abilities cut through the battlefield in deadly swaths of light. They're infinitely triggerable bombs aimed at anyone who looks like a target. His is probably the flashiest of attacks, the most disorienting, but he is by no means the only one able to wreak havoc with casual ease. Whitebeard was right, she knows. This place is dangerous. Lucy has never felt so helpless, never felt so weak as she does in this place. She'd be dead 1,000 times over if Jimbei and Eva-chan and Hancock weren't working in tandem to keep her alive. It doesn't matter though. She's too stupid to turn back, too determined to be afraid. When she makes it out of here with Ace, she'll get stronger, close the gap, become more powerful than anyone here, be Pirate King. Ace, Ace, Ace. Every time the fog and dust clears, the execution platform seems farther away. But Ace's tortured expression calls her, and Gramps' solemn torment is palpable around him. It's a beacon. It keeps her going even as the sky rips apart and the earth beneath her feet bleeds. Even as her chest clenches warningly, dangerously, and Lucy knows Chopper would make her stop, would pull her down and succeed because she's so weak right now she can barely see. If Chopper were here, Lucy wouldn't be this desperate, she could leave it to them. She's so glad they're not here. Ace, 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 forget impel down, this place is hell. The prison is mere purgatory. This place is where the devil lives, in the tempest of violent glee and bloodlust. She feels it burn in her, deep in her mind, a feverish need to fight, scrape forward, to simply survive. But her heart beats louder than her mind can think, and she charges for her brother even as fury and bloodlust cloud her judgment. It is not something she recognizes in herself, but she can't help it as she sprints over headless corpses and screams echo in her ears. This is war. And she's discovering new things about herself with every call of agony she ignores. Ace, 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 walls rise around them, trap them, the sky turns to fire and the earth betrays them, and Lucy pushes forward, forward, always forward, because Ace needs her. Ace never needs her. Ace is always protecting her, and this time she'll pay it back. She'll lift his soul from this place, convince him once and for all that he deserves to live, even if the rest of the world seems intent on saying otherwise. The only thing that truly scares her here is the thought of failure. But Lucy has never believed she couldn't win, never believed the odds are too great to overcome, and she knows it'll be alright. She'll win, she has to. Ace, 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 are you sure about this? Lucy-san? Jinbei's low voice asks, even as he prepares to launch her over the side of the wall. Lucy has never been sure of anything in her life. Yeah. Do it. Jinbei takes a deep breath, and pulls the sea to do his bidding. Lucy grips the mast of the ship for all she's worth, even as the icy water sucks life from her weary body and thought from her taxed mind. Her grip isn't strong, but she's secure enough that it doesn't matter. The rush of water swells around her, raises her high and higher, but it doesn't fight her, doesn't threaten to drown her, thanks to Jinbei's influence. Gravity wins its battle for her, and soon she's nearing the platform, avoiding all the conflict and strife below. Lucy lands crouched and challenged with the mast in one arm beside her, as all three admirals stand before her while water rushes down. Lucy, Ace screams, horrified, and the chains clink as he struggles against his bonds. Lucy doesn't acknowledge him. Can't, really. She's so far from being able to expend energy on something like comfort that it's not even funny. She pants, trying to catch her breath, and slowly looks up at the three admirals. Well, you finally made it here. Aokiji greets. He hurt Robin, turned her to ice. Quite an entrance, daughter of dragon, offers the admiral dressed in red. He's the one who drowned all those people, who melted the bay. This kid sure is scary, Kizaru. He nearly killed Zoro. He's the reason we had to run in Sabaody. If nothing else, I praise your tenacity, little girl, the red shirt tells her. His eyes are so cold for a man made of magma. But you're not ready for this stage yet. Aokiji dismisses. There's no way you can beat us, you know, Kizaru adds, and he sounds almost curious. Lucy doesn't care. Doesn't give a shit what they're saying. In fact, she can't even hear it. All she can see is Ace, 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 with tear tracks down his cheeks and blood on his wrists from the cuffs and screaming her name begging her to flee, and leave him to die. You have my brother. Red Shirt's glare intensifies at the ferocity in her voice. He's the pirate son of Gold Roger. He will be executed today. Kizaru adds. There is a rage in Lucy that could never be controlled. She wouldn't want to tamp it down. It is rage at these people's belief in absolute law, that people are nothing but pirates, civilians, or marines, that they are terminally, absolutely correct in everything they do. It's fury that they could stoop so low as to use her brother to make a point. It's hellfire raised because they think they can take her brother away from her. Lucy jumps back and up, hurling the mast toward the admirals. Give, Ace, back, she orders, with every expectation that they will do as she commands. Aokiji freezes the mast, and hurls it back toward her. Gomu Gomu no stamp Gatling. Piece by piece the frozen mast rains down on the generals, but their logias, all of them, and the ice shards affect them about as much as rain. Lucy knows this. She never intended to fight them head on. They're the enemy's THP opponents, and she knows she doesn't have time to figure out a way to beat them. But the melting ice creates fog, blocks their line of sight, and Lucy bursts into gear second. She uses the momentum to rush behind them, over their heads, and straight for Ace. For a moment she thinks she's going to make it, but then a flash of light to her left alerts her to Kizaru. Too slow, he coos, wearing a look of vague, childish interest, and she's nowhere near fast enough to dodge when he kicks her in the face. Lucy goes flying, cast down from the platform, and crashes into concrete and stone. It hurts, and that's how she knows she's got little time left. Damn it, she groans. There are Marine soldiers circling her, but they look hesitant to attack as she pulls herself out of the crater Kizaru flung her into. Execute him, the general calls. Ace, she screams, but he doesn't look up, doesn't look for her. His head is bowed and his neck exposed for the long execution blades to cleave through. Lucy reaches a hand out, desperate, feels a hot pool in her gut that she's felt before, that she can't quite control. At the very last moment, two attacks sweep across the platform with deadly, unerring accuracy as the executioners are forcibly plowed away from her fearless brother. Ace looks up, clearly shocked, and Lucy nearly cries in relief. Ace. And she looks around for her brother's savior, she has to know. Crocodile stands before the platform, tall and malevolent. Lucy doesn't know why, doesn't care, she just knows he saved her brother. But now there are 1,000 Marines and 2 platforms between her and Ace, and she's tired, so tired. Normally most of the Marines wouldn't be a problem. Normally she could run straight through them, like at Eni's lobby. Today it's hard, she does it anyway, pushes through them one at a time. Ace, 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 then Aokiji comes, a thrill of cold air and ice spears through her shoulder. She screams and goes down, the ice freezing the wound in a way that's unnatural. I owe your granddad, but Aokiji shakes his head, looking like he genuinely regrets having to attack her. I have no choice. You have chosen your own death. Aokiji raises the spear, but then a man with blue and gold wings of flame kicks him and it connects. How? What's the secret? What does she have to do? Not the time. Thanks for saving me, she tells the man when he looks down at her. He grins, and she wonders if he's friends with Ace. Don't mention it. She struggles to her feet, and Lucy smiles at him when he kicks another Marine behind her in the head. Lucy, she introduces, I'm going to be Pirate King. The Flame Man gives her an incredulous look, and then laughs, full-bellied. Oh, you're definitely Ace's sister all right. I'm Marco, first commander of the Whitebeard Pirates. Your brother and I are friends. Lucy punches a guy that brandishes a blade at Marco's leg. Cool. Then the giant, the one that looks like Wars, the guy Moria stuffed her shadow into a few weeks back, gives a horrific roar that shakes the earth itself, and heaves a boat full of Whitebeards over the wall and into the plaza. They made it, Marco breathes. Lucy nods. I'm going to save Ace. Marco gives her a challenging look. Not if I save him first. Lucy grins, her wounds forgotten for a moment, and she sprints forward to the platform as Whitebeard jumps into the fray. He distracts the soldiers, and she bounds forward nearly unimpeded. I'm coming, Ace. Hold on. She sprints as fast as she can, but she doesn't dare use gear second. She's too far gone. Her heart would stop. And then who would save Ace? Her muscles ache. Her vision is going black around the edges, and she's not sweating anymore. Her clothes are wet, her body burns and shakes, and she knows she's lost too much blood, and still her heart beats with her resolve, and all she can think is Ace, Ace, Ace. A man in a purple and white pinstripe suit approaches her, nearly cuts her down, and even though she dodges his sword, she falls face first into the cobblestone plaza. This man, he'd be difficult even if she was at full strength. Never mind now, as she runs on the last few dregs of the energy hormone Eva-chan injected her with. Straw Hat Lucy, the man calls, and oh, he singled her out specifically. I stake my pride as a Navy Vice Admiral on stopping you here and now. Vice Admiral, same as Gramps, which means stopping him as she is now is probably impossible. She'll have to dodge and try to lose him. The man blinks out of sight, and Lucy spins up in a kick she learned from watching Sanji, blocks the Vice Admiral's sword as it weaves in a pattern she recognizes from watching Zoro. She deflects him once, but he comes at her again harder, and slices her thigh open. Lucy yelps and pushes herself to all fours, choking on dust and half a lung. No choice. She has to do it, has to try. She plants a fist on the ground, squats in a strong horse stance. Gear second, she grunts, but as she tries to squeeze the energy into her bloodstream, her body refuses to cooperate, burns her as she tries to contract the muscles. Another marine flies out of nowhere and yells, "You're at the end of your rope, Straw Hat." He hits her with a finger pistol, and Lucy can't maneuver herself to land properly. She breathes heavily, panting. Ace, 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 Lucy groans, feels muscles in her shoulders and back tear, and pushes herself upright. Her two opponents look at her with something close to pity, but it's too similar to disdain for her to take it seriously. There's a hum, one that's too familiar, and she looks up to see Kizaru charging a beam to fire through her skull. Have to move, she dodges, barely, as the wave of destruction passes behind her, but she's so weak, so far gone, that she can't even lift her arms to protect her face when she falls back to the ground. She can't move. She can barely breathe. This is worse than Lucci. At least then she knew her friends would get away. Footsteps approach and instincts warn of danger, remind her that someone predatory is coming. Says a familiar voice, and she turns her head to the side to see Kizaru. It's like I was saying, you have to have more than courage, Straw Hat Lucy. Without enough strength you can't save anyone, no matter how hard you try. Her eyes blurred closed at some point, and she forces them open. Her brother, where is her brother? He's still alive, kneeling at the execution stand like a sacrifice to some horrific god. He's watching over the carnage and she's so close she can see his expression, see how anguished this battle makes him. Ace, she groans. She has to get to him. She promised she'd save him. She promised. Her vision is blurry. She tries to get up, tries to push herself into fighting more, further, but her body won't respond, and her eyes are tunneling black as she blurs into unconsciousness. But not quite. Just disappear, little girl. No one wants to see a woman die. And then she's lifted by her ribs as Kizaru pummels her side with a kick running at the speed of light, and she tries to move but can't as she's flung limply through the air and right into a hand. A massive, thick hand that wraps all the way around her body. No, she can't go back. Has to. Ace, she croaks, and she can't see, can barely breathe. She's not certain she's actually stopped falling, but Ace. How's that for washed up, you relic? A cold, childish voice croons. You let a little girl lead the charge before you. She has to stay conscious. Has to fight. The blackness around her eyes beats back a little, just as the hand holding her flips her right side up. She almost blacks out again as the blood rushes from her head, but she doesn't in the end and she realizes it's the old man. Yeah, Whitebeard caught her when Kizaru kicked her ribcage in half. He's not paying much attention to her, and Lucy realizes why when she picks two familiar voices out of the fray. Eva-chan, she croaks. Jimbei, Ace, old man, she croaks. She squirms in his grip but he's much stronger than her at the moment. Probably always, whatever. Whitebeard ignores her, but there's respect in his voice when the rumbles. She's done more than enough. Treat her wounds. And he tosses her like a rag doll back to a crowd of people who must be on his crew. Treat her wounds? No, let me go, there's no time for that. She struggles, and the 6 men holding her drop her like she's a wild animal. She rolls to her belly, she needs to get up, needs to fight, I have to save Ace, have to. A hand grabs her shoulder and it burns because that's where Aokiji stabbed her but she doesn't care, grabs the offender's shirt and uses him to stand. Don't get in my way. She pants, and shoves the man aside, whiling around to find an opening in the cluster of men around her and failing. Ace is my only brother in the world. And she's aware she's frantic. Aware that these men don't need to hear her reasons for saving her brother. But they're trying to hold her back so they obviously don't understand. Can't understand. My only brother, she repeats, and the words give her energy she didn't have before. The panic clears her mind. She can't go down, can't stop, has to move forward, has to save Ace, so she pushes the man to the side and charges forward. I'll definitely save him, she declares again, and for a few steps she's fine, but then dizziness, a swell of nausea, her ears ring, her legs give out, and she collapses a mere 10 feet from the knot of men charged with treating her. Ace, 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 she groans. Had to save. The world blanks out in a fizzle of darkness and pain. The earth trembles, and Lucy wakes. Eva-chan is watching the battle around them, twitching pensively every time the fighting gets too close. But she's here, and that's all Lucy needs. Eva-chan. Eva-chan's attention is drawn to Lucy immediately. Mugiwara girl, why are you awake? Need more energy. Thing. The expression on Eva-chan's big face goes from scolding to horrified. What? No, I won't give you another injection. You'll die. Lucy pushes for a last, latent reserve of energy. She has it. She knows she does. Ace, ace, ace. Her arm struggles up, and she catches Eva-chan's ankle in her grip, forces her to listen, please. Eva-chan's face is stern. You'll be throwing your own life away. That's fine. I'll do whatever I can. Lucy coughs, and a gob of blood escapes her mouth. Lucy swallows down the gag reflex. Just let me fight, Eva-chan. Eva-chan looks unconvinced. You're a child, and Lucy can't fucking do this right now. Eva-chan, I swear, if I don't fight now and Ace dies, I will kill myself. Do it now. If you die on my watch, I'll never be able to face Dragon again. Eva-chan objects. Lucy just looks at her, resolute. Eva-chan sighs, looking unsure. You're too much like your father for your own damn good, she mutters. Fine. The energy that courses through her as Eva-chan stabs her broken ribs hurts, but it feels sweeter than anything ever has before. She screams, loud enough for God to hear, and the entire battlefield turns to look as she rises. Lucy. Ace screams from the scaffold, and he strains hard against the cuffs. He's lost enough blood now that the wooden scaffold is stained beneath him. It enrages her. Lucy sprints forward, heedless of anyone in her path, even of the people flanking her, protecting her, until two pacifistas rise from the crowd, their mouths glowing with Kizaru's power. And she can't stop them, can't even see Ace. She has to dodge, she has to. A woman with long black hair and a purple dress cuts in front of her, arms spread wide. H. Hancock, go, she does, not even taking the time to thank her friend as she charges, because then Lucy notices the executioners, sees them approaching her brother, her dearest brother, the only brother she has in this world, and Ace, 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 the swords above her brother's neck rise, and she's too far away, too far. Stop it, she whispers, and that molten heat in her belly rises. Stop it. The heat twists, steals her spine, and stop. The heat inside her simmers, binds to her bones, and the men about to kill her brother collapse. Them, and 2/3 of the Marines in the plaza are down, passed out cold, and frothing at the mouth. Good. I'm coming, Ace, she screams. Her brother just looks at her in shock and dawning horror. Lucy barely registers it, and she doesn't care. Her brother often thinks silly things. Men, booms Whitebeard, back up Straw Hat. It's only then Lucy realizes she's the closest to the platform. And Whitebeard's helping. 50 men converge on her, all of them pirates, and they beat back the 20 or so officers there with ease, clearing her path to Ace and the scaffold. Ace, I'm coming. Do you see, Mugiwara girl, do you see? The world's best pirate is trusting you. Lucy doesn't care about that. He should have trusted her from the beginning. She's Ace's sister. Mahawk comes for her again, but he's blocked by Daz Bones and Crocodile, so Lucy keeps running. Ace, ace, ace. Up ahead she sees Inazuma. The orange and white hair, the fur coat, the glass of wine. It's him, it has to be him. It turns out she's right because she sprints forward on aching legs and she swears she only blinks, but suddenly there's a ramp of stone ascending to Ace. Yes, keep running, Mugiwara girl, don't stop, as if she needs to be told. I'm here, Ace, I'm coming, she screams, and her brother looks stunned, odd, like he might cry, and if he does she'll punch him for being a crybaby, but also probably cry too because when Ace cries it's usually okay to do the same. The Marines around her have taken notice of her progress, seem to see that she's close, so tantalizingly close to winning, to getting her brother back from the assholes that took him, and they start to concentrate fire on her. Reflexively, Lucy ducks and dodges, but she soon realizes she doesn't need to because the Whitebeard pirates have her covered. Just run, Straw Hat. A few of them scream, so Lucy does. she runs straight to the ramp and flies in the face of every Marine officer there. She's gonna get her brother back whether they like it or not. But then she's ascending, and she's a third of the way up when the ramp shakes, the stone unstable and cracked, as someone bursts through the bottom to stand in her path. She knows who it is before the dust clears. "Gramps, please," she begs, "move aside." But Gramps just looks at her, a mountain of a man, a legend, and his gaze is heavy. "I won't move, Lucy, I'm a Marine Vice Admiral." Lucy has never understood Gramps' devotion to the Marines. She's never understood why he wanted to climb the ranks over the course of his life. Never really understood what his accomplishments offer him personally, morally, spiritually, whatever. She's never understood it less than she does now. This is Ace they're talking about. Ace, whose family. Ace, who she grew up with, who taught her how to throw a punch, who saved her from alligators and tigers and bears, who let her follow him wherever he went, who she shared a cup of sake with and became a sister to, who took care of her when she got cuts and bruises and told her bedtime stories. What could possibly be more important than Ace? She's going to save him, regardless of Gramps' decision. "Do something, Mugiwara girl," Eva-chan yells. And Lucy will, when it's clear that Gramps won't move. But something is different about him today. Something in his eyes looks less resolute than normal. He doesn't want to do this, she knows. Gramps loves them. Gramps always wants the best for them. He must hate himself for this. Lucy doesn't hate him, she just doesn't understand. Now she's 40 meters away, 30, and Gramps declares, "I've been fighting pirates since before you were born." He takes a deep breath and bellows, "If you want to save Ace, you'll have to kill me, Straw Hat Lucy." That's the path you two Ika slap in the face, calling her that. Gramps has never called her anything but Lucy. It's possible, she realizes, that Gramps hates more than just himself. The thought sickens her, and she falters a step that has nothing to do with the way the bridge shakes under her feet. "I can't kill you, Gramps, please move." But Gramps stands unmoved. "That simply means Ace will die," he declares. And it's that thought, that Gramps would really, truly let Ace die, that compels her to act. "No," she screams, and she drops painfully into gear second as Gramps lines up for a punch. Lucy slips under his guard as his fist hitches, ever so slightly, and hits him square in the jaw. Gramps flies off the bridge, down to the bottom of the scaffold. Lucy knows that was too easy, knows that shouldn't have happened. But she doesn't have time to dwell on the hurt and pain this causes or on what it means for her family when all is said and done, because the bridge is collapsing and Ace is right there. 2 more steps. 1, and Lucy, Ace breathes incredulously, and she grins at him, because finally she's found her brother. But there's no time to hesitate, no time to hug and reminisce, and so she dives for the handcuffs, fishing out the key, inserting it in. "Don't think I'll let you get away," a voice booms, and Lucy just barely unlocks the handcuffs when a fist comes down to destroy the scaffold and gold and light and flume. Ace. A ring of fire protects them both from the explosion the fleet admiral caused, from the attempted brute force execution, and Ace's hand is wrapped tightly around her upper arm. "You've always been this way, Lucy," he chides, but he sounds joyous, too, and proud, like he might cry. Lucy laughs, giggles, and if they weren't still in the middle of a war zone she might actually sob. "You never listen to a word I say," he continues, but he doesn't sound mad at all, even as he drags her through his protective inferno to rip a hole in cooler air. "And you always overdo it." God, she missed him. She smiles broadly, because finally, all her efforts are paying off. Something finally went right, and she rescued Ace, just like she said she would. Ace. And okay, maybe she does cry a little bit. She is in the middle of a war zone. "Running away the moment you grabbed Ace," growls a voice. What a bunch of cowards. Whitebeard even more so. No wonder he's such a failure. The words barely register with Lucy. She's too tired, too relieved, too focused to take in much stimulus that isn't life-threatening danger. But she is aware of Ace, and he hears the words. She notices when he stops. "Ace," she calls. There's no time, they have to keep going. The Marines still want him dead. "Failure," Ace whispers lowly. Lucy stops, a few yards away from her brother. He turns to the scary Red Admiral who spoke to them, his face dark. "Take that back." The rest of the Whitebeards are equally panicked at Ace's sudden standstill, and start calling for him to run. Ace pays them no mind, his attention riveted on the admiral. The admiral seems only happy to oblige him. He couldn't become pirate king when your bloodfather was alive, didn't even achieve it after his death. The admiral's gaze is obscured by his hat, his bulk compact in his frame as he crosses his arms underneath his coat. What else would you call him, if not a failure? Ace growls, low in his chest, and Lucy is sure that he doesn't even hear it. The admiral continues, heedless. His only accomplishment is adopting a bunch of SMY kids who call him Pops and wandering the sea with them. That's all he'll ever amount to. He wasn't even good at that. His own son betrayed him. It only took a few minutes to plant doubt, you know. Shut up. The man in a kimono rushed forward, his fan extending toward Ace. Come on, Ace. He's trying to goad you. It's a trap. Ace's fists ignite, his white beard tattoo standing out in sharp relief against his pale skin. A dog like you could never understand, Ace snarls. Pops gave us a place to belong to. Pops is the greatest man alive. The admiral lowers himself into a horse stance, his fists melting red. People who walk on the right path have no need for alternatives. Their families are whole and wholesome. His eyes become visible as he tilts his head up and there's madness there. The world has no place for pirates. Whitebeard is a failure because he doesn't recognize this. Don't insult our savior. Ace screams and there's something twisted in his expression that he's never shown to Lucy. This is Whitebeard's era. Then both men shoot forward, and Lucy has to put a hand up in front of her face to protect herself from the heat as fire and magma clash. Stop it, Ace, shouts another Whitebeard, we need to go. But then Ace screams and, Ace got burned? Ace did? The fire fist is careless, the admiral sneers. Magma is hotter than fire. No, this is bad. They need to go. Ace, Lucy chokes, and her vision is swimming again. She feels the drain just like last time, but it's coming so much faster now. She takes a step forward, wobbles, and lands on one knee, breathing hard. Lucy-san, you're at your limit, warns Jimbei, a large, warm presence behind her. But Lucy's eye catches on a white slip of paper fluttering across the broken concrete of Marineford. Ace's Vivre card, she thinks. It must have fallen out of her pocket when she fell. She reaches for it, has to lean forward on her hands and knees and… Hey wait! Lucy's head snaps up at Ace's voice, at the panic he never shares, and she looks up just in time to see. A fist of fire and burning rock, Ace mantled by gold-red flame, the Red Admiral, and Ace. There's a fist through her brother's chest. Ace coughs once, smoke and blood trickle out. He doesn't fall. It would appear you have life in you yet, the Admiral sneers, low and unimpressed. His red fist pushes slowly forward, and Ace lets out a horrible cry. I can fix that. Her bother's face is wretched with pain, and Lucy finally gets her bearings. Stop, she demands. Just like she demanded her brother back earlier, and she won then, she won. The Admiral just drips more magma down the front of Ace's chest, and he shakes. A large blue shape hurtles past her, and yanks the man away from them. It's Jimbei, but she can't take her eyes off of Ace long enough to notice. Without the Admiral's fist holding him up, Ace hovers for a moment, crouched before her in a protective, fatal stance, and slowly tips forward into her arms. Ace is bigger than her, always has been. He feels small when she grabs him and he fumbles onto her shoulder. When she lifts her hand to his back, when her fingers come away soaked black with blood. Ace's blood, he's never felt frailer. There's a hole in his, I'm sorry, Lucy. He rasps, and Lucy thinks I should be screaming right now. I want to scream, but it's like she's underwater. She can't feel anything, and the ringing in her ears is getting louder. I'm sorry I couldn't let you save me properly. Forgive me. His cheek rests on her shoulder and no, we gotta find a doctor, Ace. She wraps her arms around his waist and pushes as well as she can, but she's so weak right now, and Ace is so heavy. She can't. What good is she if she can't even? Help, she screams, help, he needs a doctor. A few people start rushing over to them, but Ace just wraps his arms around her shoulders more securely, clings to her that little bit tighter. It's no use, no when my time has come. No, Ace, let the doctor, shush, he soothes. You gotta, listen now. Who else would I tell? She turns just a little, trying to look him in the eye, but the action just pushes Ace more heavily against her. Ace, you're not dying, you promised. If it weren't for Sabo, and having to look after my naive little sister, I never would have wanted to live. Lucy stills, hardly dares to breathe. Nobody else wanted me to live, so I do, she rasps, begs. I want you to live. If you ever run across her, say goodbye to Dayton for me. It's weird, but I think I miss her, now that I'm about to go. You told me you wouldn't, I just have one regret, he interrupts. Ace is a fireman, so why does he feel so cold? I won't see your dream come to pass, but I'm sure you'll pull it off for me. Ace's arms flex in a way that might have been a hug. A desperate, tiny one. You're my little sister after all. Lucis tries to make a fist, tries to grip Ace's shoulder, but she can't do anything, she's frozen, she can't. I have no regrets about the way I lived my life. No, that can't be true, because he's dying now, dying for Lucy, and Ace always tries to make her feel better. You're lying, she accuses, and she isn't quite sure she's breathing. No, it's true. I guess I didn't really want anything from life except the answer to just one question. Was it good that I was born? Ace hiccups, really soft and quiet. Lucy, listen, and tell the others what I'm about to say. I've been good for nothing my whole life. I was born from a demon's blood. But you guys, his voice breaks, and something wet drops onto Lucy's shoulder. But you guys still loved me. Thank you. Ace goes lax, utter deadweight against her, and he slumps off her shoulder to the broken concrete below, head rocking against her knee. Hey Ace, she calls, because Ace can't be dead. He's Ace. He's so much stronger than her, and if Lucy's alive, then Ace must be too. And Ace promised, no matter what, he wouldn't. Lucy looks at Ace's back, black with blood and the wound so wide it destroyed the white beard tattoo that was her brother's pride. He's lying on his chest, but his palms are up and he's smiling. Ace. Lucy screams until the world fades to white, then black, then nothing at all. Lucy rises slowly from the black abyss her consciousness lingers in. It's a place of nothingness, of oblivion, and Lucy is no more aware that she is arising from it than she is of her own existence. But slowly, painfully, certain sensations affect her, bring her attention to bear, and there's pain, unlike anything she's ever felt before, and a memory, a thought too horrible to contemplate, the smell of antiseptic, harsher than anything Chopper has ever used, and the battle. Ace. Lucy screams, red filters over her eyes as hot and dark as the magma that burned her brother, but this time no oblivion comes to claim her. Zoro's not entirely sure how long it's been since Sabaody, but he knows it's longer than it should be. He was pretty content to bicker with Perona until he found his way out of here, right up until the moment she let slip that he slept for nearly 2 weeks. He woke up a few days earlier, which means he was supposed to meet up with the crew ages ago, and they're probably worried. He doesn't even know if they're alive at all. But more than that, there's this feeling in his gut, down deep where only a few things ever affect him. Something is wrong. Desperately, desperately wrong. Every instinct in his body is screaming at him to get to Lucy, and somehow he knows, just knows, that she needs him. The gorillas are proving to be a problem though. If he wasn't still so beat up, these guys probably wouldn't be an issue. But Thriller Bark hurt him in a way that lingers. It's unlike anything Zoro has ever experienced before. It's not simple trauma, it's a pervasive weakness that aches through every cell. It's sickening, and Zoro is tired of it. But his feelings on the matter don't change the reality. He loses a duel with one of the gorillas, and his back impacts a rock behind him. He falls face down to the ground and exhales sharply, just short of a groan. The apes stay back in a menacing semicircle while he tries to find the energy to push himself up. They're not playing fair, exactly, they'd fight him one-on-one if they wanted to play fair. More like they're hesitating to see if he'd get back up or not. Are you dead? Perona whines from somewhere above him. People have been asking him that way too frequently lately. Shut up, I'm concentrating, he growls back. Carefully, painfully, he pushes himself up to a sitting position, shamefully using the wall behind him as a crutch. 2 weeks of healing, down the drain. He reopened the wounds from Thriller Bark, again. Lucy needs him, he doesn't have time to be injured. Shisui glints to his right, and if he moves quickly enough, he can take his blade up again. Kitetsu is on his left, but far away, behind the line of apes. The cursed blade fairly glows in his senses, howling rage as it grates against his consciousness. Wado is a faint trace of disdain and eyes too far away to pinpoint. He's in trouble. Real trouble. He's so injured he can barely move, let alone fight. He's got no backup either, because his friends are who knows where, and Perona is useless. Think. What can he do to get out of this? He needs to find a boat, and someone willing to take him to Sabaody. Come on. Think. What does he need to do? Something sharp grates his senses, and Zoro is immediately on edge. The apes sense it too, and in terror they scatter in every direction. This energy is familiar. Last time he felt it his senses were too dumb to see the breadth, the ferocity, the power, but now. Hawkeye, he whispers, and right on cue a figure emerges from the mist, a crucifix strapped to his back. Zoro has learned to be wary of this man. The scar on his chest reminds him every day that he has a gulf to bridge between them, and much as it burns, he knows he isn't there yet. Still, below the wariness, below the knowledge and self-awareness, there's a thrill in Zoro's veins that compels him, that makes some small, stupid part of him think I could challenge him. But of course he can't, and even if he wasn't deeply, horrifically injured, he would not be ready to defeat this man. As it is, his appearance means nothing to Zoro but a threat, another obstacle between him and his nakama. Everything inside him is chilled. Lucy. Everybody else. He has to get to them, they need him. Hawkeye has probably known exactly who he is for a while now, at least since Zoro was able to sense him, but Zoro can't quite stop himself from lunging toward Shisui when Mihawk gets close, desperate for a weapon in his hand. It doesn't go well. His ribs flash in pain and he can't keep the agony out of his face as his muscles burn. You should not do that. Roronoa Zoro, Hawkeye intones lowly, his voice smooth and unbothered as ever. Those yellow eyes are like stone, and Zoro grits his teeth as he glares up at them. You're injured beyond your limit. His perpetual frown deepens. Do you think you can beat me when you can't even defeat the baboons? Zoro ignores the dig. Mihawk's not wrong, after all, and Zoro has never been one to lie to himself about reality. There's an infinitely more important question here. Why the hell are you here? Mihawk didn't just decide he wanted to track him down and kill him for shits and giggles, did he? Hawkeye's face is blank, but he tilts his chin up slightly. I've been living in that castle for a while. Why are you here? If Walls looked curious, Zoro thought maybe Hawkeye would look like that. Zoro leans back, because it seems like Mihawk didn't come here to kill him, and his body hates him. I got thrown here by Kuma. Zoro lets his eyes glint in accusation, and a thrill of fear for his nakama courses through him at the next thought. He's a warlord too. What, did the rest of you decide you didn't like us taking one of you down every other month? And that's a terrifying thought, because while his nakama are all strong, he and Lucy are the only ones capable of battling a warlord to submission, and even then it depends on which one it is. Zoro's pretty sure they've been lucky so far, getting the weaker ones thrown in their paths. Mihawk's eyes grow faintly disdainful. The Shichibukai would not dispatch themselves for such a task as eliminating a few brats. But then his face relaxes in a manner that indicates comprehension. That explains, however, why Straw Hat came to Marineford with other people. Everything inside Zoro freezes, and he physically lunges forward a little toward any scrap of information he can get. You've seen Lucy. She's alive. How is she? Is she alright? She's probably still alive, Mihawk tells him callously, but I assume she's badly traumatized. There's a throb in Zoro's chest that has nothing to do with his injuries. What happened? He demands quietly. The Fire Fist, Portgas d'Ace, is dead. Zoro registers the words, and feels his body contract painfully in response, but it feels almost removed, like a thing that happens apart from him rather than to him as he struggles for coherence. Ace, no it can't be. Not him. He was a powerful pirate, nearly invincible. And he was a good man, looking out for his sister like he did. If Ace died, Lucy would. What, did you say? Mihawk's face is blank when he repeats the information, but there's a faint trace of sympathy for the fallen there. He died in his sister's arms. A beat, she screamed. Zoro feels the blood drain from him, feels his heart contract painfully at what Lucy must have gone through, all alone and without anyone there to watch her back, or help, or comfort her. He thinks, horribly, of Ace's blood drying and caked on Lucy's skin as she cradles her brother in death. He thinks of her horror and pain, and wants to throw up. No wonder he's been feeling so out of sorts, she needs him. But first he has to know the extent of the damage. He starts to struggle up, levering himself against the wall. He can't stand, but he'll at least hear this with as much dignity as possible. The hawk might skimp on the details otherwise. Tell me everything, he demands. Mihawk frowns, but complies, and Zoro listens to a recounting of Evine a part of and wasn't. He drowns in it. Red fades slowly from Lucy's vision, and boils down to a single view. Her hands are covered in blood. Bandages. She staggers a little as pain blooms across her chest. Lucy looks up, and the sunlight feels cold. There's jungle all around her, beautiful and alien and vaguely familiar. She's not in Marineford. Where am I? She pants, breathing hard. And more importantly, where's Ace? His corpse. No one took it, did they? Like with Moira? The thought makes her shake her head, horrified. Green blurs across her vision, and she takes great gulps of air as the ringing in her ears starts to fade. The air is clean, no ash or smoke, and the ground is lush grass, not unforgiving stone. Lucy tilts her chin up, closing her eyes as the sun bears down on her. Maybe it was all a dream, she muses, breathless, helplessly hoping. Ace, face down and smiling. Blood on the pavement, on her, on the stone around them. Acrid smoke, cloying at her, lifting the horrible stench of burned flesh to her nostrils. A hole in the white beard tattoo the size of a large man's fists. She grips her head with her bloody hands, and shakes. I'm sorry, Lucy. She falls back, screaming and helpless as she kicks at nothing but air and reality itself. This can't be happening, can't be real. Another memory. Ace's tears on her shoulder, heavy deadweight in her arms. There's blood on her hands. Go away, a cliff bursts apart under her fists, but it's not enough, has never been enough because Ace, she couldn't. Ace, hovering over her wreathed in fire as magma drips down his chest. Go away. Lucy hurls a boulder at a mountain and watches stone collapse, breathing hard and feeling her muscles burn in anguish. He's gone. Lucy falls to her knees, leans on her elbows, and breathes. Why does the world hate her brother so much? Slowly, deliberately, a pair of heavy sandaled feet approach her, and Lucy lifts her head just enough to see Jinbei looking down at her with typical sternness. She glares at him, daring him to say something. He does. The war is over, he declares. Ace-san is. Don't, she interrupts. She can't hear that sentence. Don't say it at all. I already pinched myself hard enough to rip my skin, on her sternum too, where the pain was greatest. If it were a dream, I'd have woken by now. Her voice cracks, and tears run heavy and thick down her face. But it's not a dream, is it? Ace is really dead, isn't he? Lucy bites her lip to keep from wailing her agony, but she can do nothing about the hitches in her breath, the sobs. Yes, he is dead, and hearing it on another's lips, hearing the truth echoed back to her, grinds whatever is left of her hope to dust. So she cries, brokenly, wetly, for the best brother in the world. The person who always looked after her, protected her, cared for her when no one else did. Who was kind and a misfit and a bit mean-spirited when he was put out. Who wouldn't listen to her at all when she teased him about his hat in Alabasta, and who got a tattoo with Sabo's S crossed out. Ace is gone, and it seems the world should have burned along with his heart. Jinbei tries to interrupt, tries to distract her, and he starts, Lucy-san. Pirate King? She hiccups, incredulous and lightheaded. I'm no Pirate King. I'm weak, she sobs, furious at herself for wanting something so great when she is so pathetic. She blows another boulder apart in her hysteria. I'm still so, I couldn't save anyone, not a single person. Not Ace. Not anyone else who died on that battlefield. Damn, she wails. Her bloody knuckles numb as she pounds the earth below her. Damn. She was nothing but a child. When it came to saving her brother, her only brother left, she couldn't do it. All these years, all that time gone, and all that time spent training and growing stronger, and Lucy might have been 7 again for all the good it did Ace. Damn it, Lucy trails off, helpless and useless. Lucy-san. She forgot Jimbei was there. Go away, she demands, not looking up at all. Leave me alone. I can't, Jimbei growls, low in his gravelly voice. I cannot watch you hurt yourself anymore. She cannot handle someone telling her what to do right now. It's my own body. It's none of your business. Then you can't blame Ace for doing what he did. His death was not your business. How dare he? Shut up, you bastard, I'm gonna beat you if you say another word. There's a tiny voice in Lucy's head that says such a statement is laughable. That Lucy is weak, and she would never win against Jimbei. It's a new voice, or an old one, she hasn't heard it in a decade. It's powerful. Do it if it makes you happy, Jimbei returns, unconcerned. I'm injured too, but I'm not going to get beaten by you in that condition. He's right. Lucy stands, growling, and charges, firing off a punch. Jimbei grabs her arm easily, and flips her onto her back so hard her lungs seize and a rib breaks. Blood bursts out of her mouth. Lucy doesn't have the strength to open her eyes, and her anger frustrates beneath her skin, marinates in her weakness. Jimbei seems to think she's given up, and settles beside her, his bulky frame shaking the earth as he rests. His mistake. Lucy's not one to give up, not even like this. She clamps down on his arm, hard. Why you little? Jimbei slams her against a rock wall, gripping her by the neck. She's too injured to use her rubber abilities or she'd be out of this easy. That hurt you little brat. Jimbei growls at her. Lucy just wriggles, trying to get out of his grip. It's not quite tight enough to choke her. Can't you see things clearly now? You believed you could overcome anything, and you've never doubted your strength. But all those formidable enemies at Impel Down and Marineford took away your confidence. And your brother was your guide on the sea. I know that you have lost, and lost dearly. This last sentence is voiced with sympathy, and a gentleness he had not previously displayed. The toughest enemies in the world blocked your way, time after time. Jimbei's words are more than Lucy wants to acknowledge right now. Ace is dead. He's gone. She understands, but the other things, who is she without them? Without infallibility and a brother she has to chase and a dream to pursue. You'll never find your way like this, Jimbei intones, echoing her thoughts, because you've lost yourself in pain and guilt. I know it's painful, Lucy-san, he counters gently, but you have to defeat those feelings. You can't think only of the people you've lost. You can't get them back. You must think instead of what you still have. Lucy stills, the storm inside her settling. What does she still have? Her hands drop to her sides, and Lucy sees her reflection in Jimbei's glassy eyes. Jimbei sees the fight drain from her, sees the shock weave stillness into her frame. He releases her slowly, and she slides down the rock face to the earth. What does she have? Lucy looks down, to hands still covered in blood. Her blood, not Ace's. What does she have? How could she forget? A swordsman and a first mate. One she loves in a way she never really expected, never could have predicted. One who is crabby and irritable and loyal and kind, who is gruff but gentle, too, and who makes all his attack names sushi puns, and who never, ever gives up, and who always, always believed in her, even when it was just the two of them. A navigator and a thief. One who looks after her in a way that reminds Lucy of Ace. Who is brave and strong and skilled, clever and a survivor. Who is surely out there right now wondering what's taking the rest of them so long. A liar and a sniper. A friend who wants to be brave, which is silly since he already is. Who tries so hard every day, to make himself into someone he wants to be. A link to Shanks' crew, and a silly, goofy, wonderful friend. A cook. One that bickers with Zoro and flirts in a way that makes them feel upset. Who cares for people, feeds them any chance he gets, who respects her and never lets people question Lucy's captaincy because she's a girl. A doctor. The best doctor. A reindeer with a heart of gold and who only wanted to fit in and carry on his father's legacy. Who's maybe lost and waiting for them right now, alone. An archaeologist. One that just learned she wants to live, who likes to read books and drink coffee on the deck, and who's teaching Lucy how to read. One who never believed Lucy would come after her, and who was loyal to them anyway. Who suffered, who was hunted, and who is still kind. A cyborg. A funny, restless, endlessly creative cyborg. One that took the entire crew under his wing, adopting them like the people he led back on Water 7. One who took a chance on Lucy and her crew, and who built the ship they sail on, to carry them all to their dreams. A musician. One that waited decades alone to try and carry a song to his nakama, who sings Bink's sake whenever he feels it gets too quiet on deck, and who is still happy to be alive after years of loss. The doubt inside her clears, and warmth breaks through the fog of her misery. Zoro, Nami, Usopp, Sanji, Chopper, Robin, Frankie. Brooke. Her crew. Her nakama. She counts them on her fingers. 8. She has 8 reasons to live. Their nakama. With them she need never be alone again. The tears brim up faster than she expected, and this time they don't stem from pain or misery or grief, but from love. That painful kind that makes a person question whether it's joy or sorrow, but which Lucy knows is really just hope, the tightening of those invisible bonds which lash her to them. She cries, loudly, intensely, so lightheaded she can barely breathe. I still have. She chokes on the words as the sobs close her throat. I still have my nakama. Jinbei is gentler now, and his face is kind. I see. His voice sounds warm and approving. She sniffs. Wipes her tears. I have to meet them on the ship. She hiccups. I'm late, but I'm sure they're waiting for me. Jinbei sits before her, quiet and graceful for his massive size. I want to see them, she tells her friend. Because if just the thought of them is enough to push away her doubt and guilt, then seeing them, holding them, I want to see them again. Jinbei gives her a rare, fond smile. Well, of course you do. Zoro wakes, and he finds himself staring at a now familiar ceiling. He passed out yesterday after Mihawk told him what Lucy has been through while he was lying here, in this exact spot, useless. Perona dragged him back to the castle and dumped him in the bed. She brought food and water, but he's been informed he is not allowed to leave until he can walk unassisted. If he hadn't been so busy being nearly comatose, he would have protested stridently. But this morning, he actually feels a bit better, more aware than he has been for a while now. Lucy is, for all he knows, alone and injured, or sickbed to her injuries. Mihawk said Trafalgar Law took her from the battlefield, that he probably managed to save her life, but he can't help the twist of anxiety in his gut born from the uncertainty. It doesn't help that the papers have been wildly speculating about a whirlwind romance between them. It's typical of newspapers, especially since a lot of them were clearly hoping for more drama to add to the epic of the war. The suggestions rub Zoro the wrong way, but that doesn't really matter. He's just grateful the guy saved her. He wishes he could have saved her, he wishes he could have saved Ace. He wishes he was strong enough to stand behind her when she needed him. With a grunt, he levers himself up. His chest and stomach throb in agony, angrily, and every ligament in his body tightens in protest. Zoro breathes through the pain, waits for his blood pressure to even out before trying anything else. It's been nearly 2 months since Thriller Bark. He spent most of that time asleep or blacked out in a coma. He's been useless, utterly useless, since that first fight with Kuma. The others could have gotten away at Sabodi if he hadn't dragged them down. He needs to get to Lucy. Apologize. Talk to her about that kiss. The pain doesn't go away, just recedes a little, enough that he can stand. Okay then. Zoro swings his legs over the side of the bed, grits his teeth against the new burn, and the protesting of his wasted muscle. He's atrophied a fair amount. With this ridiculous level of bed rest, he's pretty sure even Chopper would be horrified enough to let him get back to his exercise routines. Gingerly, he slides to his feet, using the bedpost as a crutch. He's panting with the effort. That's not a good sign. Fuck it, he needs to get to Lucy. He straightens his spine, forcing himself upright. His abs twinge in protest, and his back creaks, but he does it. Zoro lets out a harsh breath of pain he didn't realize he was holding. Zoro takes one careful step, then two. He needs to move. Needs to do more than rest. He needs to go. Slowly, his body relaxes into movement. It still protests, still aches and groans and screams, but it's nothing he can't ignore. He collects his swords from where they lean against the door and slides them into his hamarki. All 3 of them ring painfully in his mind, and have been since Hawkeye's told him about Lucy. He doesn't know why, but they've been acting weirdly since Thriller Bark, especially Kitetsu. Quieter, Until last week, that is. Maybe they think he's useless too. They wouldn't be wrong, he mutters as he hefts the door open. His swords give him no response. The castle is cavernous, and Zoro would know. He spent 3 whole days just wandering around trying to find his swords when he first woke up. It's got a bunch of fancy things too, like thick carpets and suits of antique armor. Zoro has seen some of this in pictures before, but never in person. The kingdom he grew up in didn't have stuff like this. Too bullshitty. He can see someone like Mihawk liking it though. Eventually he finds what he was looking for, Perona's screeching voice, and Mihawk's bored, indifferent tones. They're behind a heavy oak door. Zoro exhales in slight, shameful dismay, and then heaves himself against it with a grunt. It opens. Barely. He'd normally be able to do this without a thought. Inside, both occupants of the dining room look up at him. "What are you doing up?" Perona screeches, dismayed. "You're not going to push yourself again, right? You can't beat those baboons. They're way too strong for you." "Shut up," he growls, startling her into silence. He hasn't growled at her seriously in, well, ever. It's none of your business. Perona, over her shock, jerks in offense. "How dare you say that to me? I'm the one who carried you here." But Zoro ignores her, doesn't really care what she has to say. He walks slowly, unsteadily toward his rival, the man he unknowingly swore to kill 12 years ago, and who left a mark across his chest the first time he tried. "Hawkeye," he starts, voice rough. He doesn't quite have the energy to stand upright, but he refuses to bow his head. Not to this man. His vision dims for a moment, and he has to use all 3 of his swords to keep his balance as he trips. "See?" Perona demands, outraged. "You can't even walk? Why are you in such a hurry? You're wounded?" asks Hawkeye. He seems indifferent, which at least means Zoro has a better chance of getting out of here than if he was like Perona, or Chopper, or Sanji. This isn't helping. Zoro tries to breathe through the pain, return oxygen to his blood, but it only kind of works. "You told me what happened to Lucy," he starts, shoulders shaking with effort, and maybe emotion as well. He looks up, angry at the insinuation that he would do anything but follow her. "How can I stay still?" He shakes his head, collecting his thoughts, and the room spins. "I didn't even know a war like that was underway." He swallows, and he can't quite keep the concern from his voice now. "You said Trafalgar took her, but there's no way to know if she's okay or not." He grips his katana so hard they rattle in their sheaths. "You must know where she is, at least. Tell me." Mihawk looks away, dismissive. "Trafalgar is a skilled surgeon. He likely managed to save her life. Beyond that, I have told you all I know." Zoro wants to throttle him, wants to demand answers, but there's nothing for it now. He cannot force Mihawk to tell him what he does not know. Zoro closes his eyes, resigned. "Sorry to bother you," then, he begrudgingly accepts. He turns and shuffles toward the door, still limping on his katana. "This is insane," Perona protests. "Even if you make it to the sea without running into the baboons, you still have to cross the ocean." Zoro keeps walking. It's of no consequence. He'll swim, or lash together some tree trunks, or walk on fucking water if he has to. He's going to go find her, right now. "If you want a small boat, there is one on the west side of this castle," Mihawk offers. It's kind of him. Zoro didn't expect that. Zoro stops, the only show of respect he's ever given Mihawk outside a duel. "Thank you for everything." He manages to make it out the door and listen to it shut before leaning bodily against a wall, trying to get his heart rate down. No good. He's no good like this. "I want to go see them now," Lucy whines. She's hanging onto Jinbei's back now, because she found herself mostly exhausted and unable to move after her emotions settled a little. Jinbei, exasperated once more, sighs. "You can't go anywhere with that wound." Lucy frowns down at herself. Her chest and ribcage hurt so completely that it's hard to tell what the wound looks like. She wonders if she still has her breasts. She honestly can't tell, because it's not like they were very big in the first place. She wonders if Zoro likes it when women have scars. She's fairly certain it won't matter for them if he doesn't, but I want to see them as soon as possible, she insists. "I don't know where they went when we got separated. I need to make sure they're okay." The absolute certainty that she possessed earlier is gone now. She survived Kuma but for the others. Zoro was so hurt when they were separated. I have to be there like I promised, she adds, just to emphasize how badly she needs to get to Sabaody. They pass through curtains printed with Hancock's Jolly Roger. Lucy, Jinbei's stain. He stops as they look out over an empty bay. The submarine's gone. He grunts in surprise. Oh, it's Lucy-chan, a familiar voice calls. Lucy turns as quickly as she can, neck twinging, and spots Rayleigh sitting on a rock and wringing his shirt out. Huh? Rayleigh-o-san? The old man chuckles and stands, a gentle smile on his face and silver hair flowing around his shoulders. I'm glad to see you so soon, he greets. Why are you here? Lucy asks, curious. I was about to follow the Vivre card to Sabaody. A thought occurs to her. Did you see my friends? News. Any news on them would be, no, I don't think they'll be there. Rayleigh says casually. But I gave my Vivre card to Shaki, so I could go wherever I wanted. A stone drops in Luce's stomach. They can't be, he doesn't mean. Dark King Rayleigh, Jinbei states, shocked. I didn't know you knew Lucy. We met not long ago, Rayleigh agrees. Lucy, not wanting to spend this conversation on Jinbei's back, gathers her strength and leaps down. It hurts, but she doesn't show it. You must be the former warlord, Rayleigh muses. He's Jinbei, Lucy corrects. Her friend's past doesn't matter. He saved my life. In more ways than one. She is very aware of that. Actually, Jinbei is behaving kind of weird. She frowns at him and asks, what's wrong? Her friend doesn't tear his eyes away from Rayleigh. I just didn't expect to see a living legend here, that's all. Lucy looks back at Rayleigh, frowning. She knows he was the Pirate King's first mate, but she never heard of him before Sabaody. Well, whatever. She brushes the thought aside. Rayleigh bends down, and something very familiar is in his hands. Luce's eyes widen. Here, he offers. Isn't this important to you? Her hat. Shanks' hat. She thought she lost it along with Ace, back at. Rayleigh tosses her the hat, and she catches it easily. She grins at him as familiar straw slides under her fingers. It is. Thank you. It's the same as always, unchanged and untouched since it was last on her head. It doesn't feel right without it, she muses and mashes the hat to her hair. She feels more like herself. Steadier. Jinbei looks around, apparently stymied. Have you seen a group of pirates around here? Rayleigh shrugs. If you're talking about Trafalgar Law, he just left. He said you should rest in bed 2 more weeks, Lucy. Rayleigh shrugs one of the heart pirate jackets on, and Lucy frowns. He saved your life, didn't he? Lucy nods. Jinbei told me about it. She wishes she could thank him, and also maybe ask him what her chest looks like. Rayleigh puts his hands on his hips, a casual, powerful stance. But first, Lucy, I bet you're wondering how I found you. Lucy tips her head to the side. Not really. Both Jinbei and Rayleigh give a small chuckle. It was Kuma, Rayleigh informs her. Luce's heart nearly stops. What? When I was fighting Kizaru in Sabaody, Kuma arrived, and claimed he wished to help me save you. I didn't have much choice but to trust him, and he told me where he sent you a bit later. He wouldn't tell me where the others went, but said they were safe. Something inside Lucy quakes and slides apart in vicious, terrible hope. Then, they're alive? All of them? Rayleigh's eyes grow warm and fond. As far as I know, Kuma sent them to safe places. A deep, sharp relief drops into her. Thank goodness, she whispers, I'm glad. She doesn't cry though, she's cried enough today. You said you wanted to go to Sabaody, didn't you? Rayleigh asks, dark eyes speculative behind the glasses. Lucy can hear the question there. I want to see my friends. Rayleigh's eyes grow sharp, but not unkind. It's like looking at a mirror, impassive and blank. Is that really what you want? Lucy has learned too much to ignore a question like that, and waits for Rayleigh to explain. He sees he has her attention, and complies. Do you really think you can stand up to those tremendous powers you fought as you are now? Lucy thinks of every blow she took in the battle, every fight she had to avoid because she couldn't win. You have to have more than courage, Straw Hat Lucy. Without enough strength you can't save anyone, no matter how hard you try. But she needs to see them. Make sure they're okay, and have them nearby while she heals from this. Do you want to be reunited with your friends just to endure the same fate? Rayleigh demands, and the words cut through her like razor wire. Rayleigh must see this because he adds, I have a suggestion. It's up to you but, a pause. I will train you, for 2 years. Lucy goes numb. What? 2 years? 2 years of training under one of the strongest men to ever sail. 2 years of learning from him, growing, becoming stronger. 2 years. 2 years of not being with her friends, of not seeing them, or even knowing how they are. She can't. I think that's what you and your friends need the most right now. Rayleigh finishes, not unkindly. Lucy-chan needs rest. Jimbei interrupts, suddenly not quite so in awe of Rayleigh, and she needs her crew. She needs to heal her body and mind. Rayleigh studies Lucy, like he's trying to figure out what's holding her back. Oh God, 2 years. An hour ago she thought she wanted to die, and now she's considering this stupid proposition to not see the people who pulled her back from the brink for another 2 years. They might be safe now, but what if they need her? They're strong, they're all so strong, but what if something happens and Lucy's not there again? What if it's like Sabaody and the war? What if Lucy isn't strong enough to protect them when the next person to challenge her comes along? He's right. It kills her, but he's right. Right now, of her crew, she's the weak one. She's the one who needs them, and if Kuma was that careful sending them to different islands, they can't possibly be unsafe. She can't protect anyone as she is right now. Arlong asked her once, what gave her the right to be their captain? Her answer was, of course, that she could beat him, beat anyone who threatened her nakama. If she departs with them as she is now, she can't say that any longer. Her jaw trembles, and she forces it to steady, but my friends will. Rayleigh leans forward, his hands under his chin. Yeah, they'll try to meet with you in Sabaody. The news about you has spread all over the world already. Lots of salacious stories. They're probably worried for you. Lucy's fists clench. Then, I had to see them. I promised, so I gotta go. She looks at Rayleigh, resolute, but some part of her knows this is not the right decision. She can't protect them as she is, and while they are stronger together. Lucy's seen what's out there now. She can picture the way Whitebeard made the world tremble, split islands in his wake, and she can see the terrible golden gleam of the fleet admiral as she freed Ace upon the execution stand. She was an ant fighting among giants. She lives not by her own will, but by luck. She cannot win as she is right now. She can't protect them. She certainly can't be Pirate King. But she also can't just back out on her promise. She has to make sure her nakama know she's safe. If they arrive in Sabaody and she never shows up, they'll think she's dead. Rayleigh seems to understand, and there's a certain kind of approval in his eyes. Then, allow me to offer a second suggestion which, while unpalatable, will allow you to reassure your friends and also to train with me. There's a gleam in Rayleigh's eyes which would be dangerous if he wasn't so thoroughly on her side. Lucy looks at him, and just knows. If I do as you tell me, will I be able to protect them? For good, this time? Lucy-san. Jimbei hisses, dismayed. Rayleigh's glasses flash as he tilts his chin on his knuckles. You'll have to put in some effort, but I think it's worth trying. No guarantees then. But, it's better than doing nothing, isn't it? Better than just waiting for someone to show up who can tear them away from her again. But then there's the whole issue feels about him, and how 2 years is a long time for those feelings to go unrequited. They didn't part on a bad note. Exactly, just an unresolved one. Halfway between something familiar and a grand adventure. She's sure, of course, that she loves him. Lucy's sure he cares for her, too. But she doesn't know how he cares, and that hurts, a bit. 2 years without an answer. Zoro was injured, too. Badly. Whatever happened on Thriller Bark laid him low, and then Kuma sent him away, so there's no guarantee that he received proper medical care. She has to trust that he's okay. Just like she always has before. Lucy has to get stronger, but Zoro's always been a rock. He's okay. He has to be. And how will she get on without seeing them? Her nakama. Jimbei snapped her out of her grief earlier, but those feelings are not gone. Will probably never be gone. Ace's death is going to sit heavy on her heart for, well, probably the rest of her life. It weighs on her still, a shadow behind her that she can feel but can't touch lest she fall to pieces. She was counting on being able to see her friends before releasing them again. She never wants another reason to feel like this. Like she did in Sabaody, like she did when Bon Clay sacrificed himself at Impelled Down. She needs to protect the people she cares about. Especially the ones who call her their captain. That's her job. It's the right thing to do, for them, if nothing else. Alright. Lucy agrees. It feels like tearing her heart out. What did you have in mind? It takes him most of the day. But eventually he manages to get back to the cross Mihawk found him under last week. He found the boat pretty easily, but dragging it behind him is hard. He still has the Vivre card, somehow, and he's been pulling the boat in the same direction as the card. Rayleigh is his best option right now. If nothing else, he should be able to meet the rest of the crew there, and then they'll hunt Lucy down together, like usual. There's nothing usual about this. But then there's the fact that this is Lucy they're talking about, and Lucy never breaks her promises. She'll be there, and Zoro wants to meet her, wants to touch her and hold her and have her tell him what happened, if she wants, or sit in silent company if she doesn't. He wants to see her healthy and recovering, remind her that, useless as he currently is, he's beside her. Promise her he'll get stronger. That he'll never lose again, not this time. Zoro huffs out a grunt as the sensitive tissue in his ribs screech in pain. He doesn't like repeating promises. He doesn't like breaking them in the first place. A bush rustles on his left. A vine swings out of tempo up ahead. There you are, Zoro grunts. I knew you weren't going to let me go so easily. Zoro drops the boat and forces his spine straight. Years of training and discipline refuse to let him meet an enemy with poor form. It's agony though, and his grip spasms around Shisui's hilt. 20 baboons, all of them armored and fierce, circle him. Zoro widens his stance and prepares to draw. One steps forward, armed with 3 katana. The baboon charges and Zoro dodges but. They're imitating me, he grunts in disbelief. That was a perfectly executed Tatsumaki. They even got the air currents right. Zoro can at least counter this move. He knows all its weaknesses. He counters and lands heavily on the packed earth below. It exhausts him, and he's forced to his knees, clutching his ribs gingerly. There's a booming crash behind him, and his eyes widen in horror as he realizes. The boat. They got the freaking boat. Around him the baboons cheer, like they've won something. Idiots, Zoro grunts. Lucy's face flashes in his mind's eye, torn in anguish. Don't mess with me today. It's hours later when he is forced to retreat a little, gather himself. The baboons back off too, licking their wounds. Literally. Where did you even learn that? Zoro grouses. The baboons, as usual, don't answer him. They don't crow in victory either, which is odd. Very, very odd. And they're all looking up behind him, at Hawkeye. Zoro acknowledges, frustrated that he didn't sense him sooner. The man is still wearing his frilly white shirt, and sipping from a glass of red wine. It's been a while since you left the castle, Mihawk muses. You don't seem to have gotten very far. A pause. The boat I gave you seems to be broken. Geez, this guy was born annoying, wasn't he? Shut up, he growls. I'll use them like planks and swim hanging onto them. It's nice that you care so much for your captain, Mihawk intones, sounding very much like he doesn't really care if it's nice or not. But those enemies are strong. They're called humanrals. Baboons that develop by imitating humans. Peace-loving, if they grow up near kind humans. Warmongers, if the opposite. Those you see before you are a product of the war that ravaged this land 7 years ago. Nothing was left but them. I moved here sometime after. It still smelled of blood and smoke. Zoro wonders what Mihawk did with the bodies. He can't quite picture the implacable man chopping down enough trees to cremate them. He does, however, think Mihawk and Robin would get along well. They talk the same way. Clearly overthink everything too much. Humanrals learn from us, Mihawk continues, and takes a sip of wine. They adapt what they see us do, without any true context. Humans beat beasts because of our intelligence, our ability to make tools to cover inefficiencies. The red wine swirls around the glass. When the beasts take up those same tools, they make great opponents for an arrogant young man. Okay, that's a step too far. Talking about me? Zoro challenges, annoyed. There's no one else here, Mihawk retorts snidely. It's almost sunset. Come to my castle, they won't bother you there. Fuck, no, don't tell me what to do. Zoro snaps back. I've got to make it to the sea. Lucy needs him. The knot of uncertainty in his gut, born from not knowing how she is or whether she's safe, is eating him alive. He needs to find her, and the others as well. I see. Mihawk concedes after a moment, do whatever you want. I don't care what they are, Zoro growls petulantly, panting. A new cut opens above his eye, and blood is swallowed by his tear ducts. I have no time to waste. His right leg is fractured. He may have sprained his wrist, but he can't be sure. His entire torso is a mass of pain so tangled he has no idea where one injury begins and another ends. He thinks he may have reopened his thriller bark injuries again. For Lucy. For himself. For every unsaid thing between him, and for every memory they've yet to make. Zoro lunges and fails, over and over and over again. Oi! How long are you going to stay asleep? A voice above him whines. Painfully, Zoro pries his eyes apart. It takes him a second to orient himself, and his vision is still blurry. Perona hovers above him, unimpressed. I won't take care of you if you keep injuring yourself, she threatens. Mind your own business, he snarls, turning his head away. He must have passed out, again. Fuck this, he has no time for it. He's just going to lay here until he gets bored. Right. I have today's paper, Perona adds. There's something in here that I think you'll be interested in. Zoro looks up, wary. Perona says stuff like this sometimes, in really obvious attempts to get people to do things for her. There's an update on your captain, Perona clarifies, tossing the paper in her hand like it doesn't hold the answers to every question that led him out here in the first place. Zoro sits up, numb to the agony of his body. What did you say? But his body is tired of being ignored, and his ribs throb in angry protest. Perona backs up a step, startled. Zoro's brain interprets that as being a refusal to answer, so he comes as close to begging as he ever does. What did you say? He rasps, pained. Please. Perona blinks, startled. She glances at the newspaper, then back at him. A wicked smile spreads across her face. I could use this to get you into the Kamashi costume. Zoro lunges for the newspaper. Perona screeches in terror. Okay, sheesh, lay down, or you'll pop your stitches. I'll hold it up. Zoro does not tell her his stitches popped before the baboons jumped him. He just lays back against the rocks, and tries to curb his impatience. The headline reads Straw Hat Lucy, alive and back at Marineford, and next to it is a picture. Lucy, standing over a chasm Whitebeard himself cut into the earth. She's bandaged head to toe, her face is still puffy from bruising, and her clothes, a loose red shirt and denim shorts, are familiar, if tattered. Her hat is pressed to her chest, with the one arm that isn't fully bandaged. She's lost weight and muscle tone, like she too has been on bed rest too long. She looks mournful, she looks solemn. Zoro's never seen her like that. But she's alive. If nothing else, she's alive and by the looks of things, on the mend. The relief is so potent it hurts. And here's the thing. If she's alive, and Zoro's alive, that probably means the rest of the crew is too. Even they aren't that unlucky. Quickly, Zoro skims the article. She arrived back in Marineford exactly 20 days after she left. She, Rayleigh, and an ex-warlord that allied himself with her during the war commandeered a marine ship, and circled the island once before entering the bay. The ship was destroyed, but they made it ashore, where Lucy rang some special bell exactly see-through flowers in the grave. Then they left on a whale shark. It's weird. Lucy doesn't do stuff like this. She's not into symbolism or any such bullshit. She just does things. And it's not like her to go to such lengths to pay respects to the dead, either. Zoro glances at the picture again. There has to be a reason she did this. Rayleigh's a clever bastard, and if he's with her. Carefully, he lets his eyes trace her form. No pins or anything that would indicate something important, no hand symbols. Are you done yet? My arms are tired. The only thing about her appearance that's off are the letters and numbers on her arm. 3D is crossed out. Beneath it is 2Y. 3D. 3 dumbbells. No, that's stupid. 3 dogs? That would make no sense. 3 days. She crossed out 3 days. They were supposed to meet in Sabodi in 3 days. But that was almost a month ago now, and there's no way she was in Sabodi this whole time. 2Y3D was 3 days, so 2Y is. No way. She wouldn't do that, not unless. She would. Mihawk has offered enough details that Zoro has an idea of what the war was like. He knows what grief and loss are. He knows what it's like to be confronted, Suddenly, with the incredible gap between oneself and the top. It's happened to him twice now. The hawk gave him a scar the first time. He still hasn't recovered from the second. What could possibly possess her to do something like this? Doesn't she want? Zoro cuts himself off, knowing it's stupid. Of course she wants. He knows that. But Lucy is nothing if not determined when the crew is at stake and someone. Zoro doesn't know Jinbei, but he could see Rayleigh doing it, convinced her to look at the bigger picture. Zoro may have to punch Rayleigh next time he sees him. Of course he can't right now, because Rayleigh is in another tier of strength altogether. And that's the problem, isn't it? The hawk showed him the top, back in East Blue. But Zoro had so far still to walk that he hadn't known how far down he was. Kuma reminded him. Kuma showed everyone how weak they still are. This is a promise from Lucy. A challenge too. In 2 years, I'll be stronger, she's saying. We'll continue on to new seas ahead, and no one will ever stop us again. Zoro closes his eyes and his body brines in pain. Zoro wants to. But okay, it's not like he could ever refuse her anyway. Kuma showed him other things as well. Would he give up for Lucy, for one thing? How much she is a part of him? That there were few, if any, sacrifices he wouldn't make for her. And now, it seems, he's proving that he'd even let her go. When Jinbei's whale shark pulls up to Hancock's ship, Lucy just barely makes it on board before the magnitude of what she's just done hits her, and weakness slides swift and merciless into her bones. Lucy-chan. Hancock fusses from somewhere on her left. Lucy sways as she tries to look at her. Steady, Lucy-san. Jinbei rumbles behind her. He grabs her good shoulder firmly, but he's gentle too. He's large and reassuring. Lucy really likes Jinbei. Now that we have that taken care of, you should go rest, Lucy-chan. Rayleigh adds behind her. Trafalgar would probably disapprove of all your recent activity. Lucy nods, and it nearly sends her to her knees. Being in the ocean so long often has side effects like this. Especially if she's injured. She would have passed out a long time ago if Jinbei hadn't been protecting her. There's a bed you can use, Lucy-chan. It's in the cabin next to mine, Hancock offers, her tone gentle and a little more serious than before. Lucy's chest tightens, and her throat closes and her eyes prick hot with tears because. That will work, Rayleigh agrees, and his hand is heavy as it rests on her shoulder, encouraging her forward. Lucy walks slowly, and her vision is swimming, but she manages to move under her own power. Jinbei ultimately has to carry her up the stairs though, and refuses to set her down until they arrive at the cot Hancock set out for her. He's careful as he lays her down, and the mattress is small, but it's comfortable enough. You three, bring food, Hancock orders, all authority. A few of the Amazons scurry off to comply, and the rest hover anxiously outside the door. The Snake Empress turns to Lucy then, and pulls up a chair by Lucy's bed. Lucy-chan, how are you feeling? Hancock coos, concerned. Hancock may fuss over her more than anyone else Lucy knows, which is saying something since both Nami and Sanji are. She can't quite keep her eyes from watering, but she holds back the tears. Lucy-chan? Hancock asks, shocked. Her eyebrows furrow, face pinched in surprise. Lucy made her decision, and it's too late, much too late, to change her mind now. Tomorrow they'll see the papers and know. Do you think they'll get it? She asks Rayleigh. He sits across from Hancock, on Lucy's other side. He looks at her like he knows exactly what's getting her right now, and how much this hurts. Well, they should, Rayleigh responds, not reassuring at all. Then he shrugs. Something tells me they'll understand. The swordsman looks a bit dull though. The mention of Zoro makes her insides feel hollow, and her throat closes dangerously. Rayleigh, Hancock hisses, protective. Oh yeah, Hancock knows how she feels about Zoro. Lucy covers her eyes with her elbow, and grimaces against the gash her mouth wishes to be, contorted in misery. She doesn't want to cry. She's done enough of that for a lifetime. And, unlike most other times in her life, Lucy finds suddenly that she doesn't wish to be around people. Not even these people, who have proven to be true and loyal friends. The only people she wants right now are her nakama and she just, 2 years. Leave us, Rayleigh orders quietly, and Lucy realizes he's speaking to Hancock and Jinbei. You do not order me around on my ship, Rayleigh, Hancock responds, scathing. I have sworn to watch over Lucy-san, Jinbei agrees. Rayleigh sighs, and Lucy tries to swallow but can't without breaking completely. I must have a word with Lucy. Alone. When neither of them move, he adds meaningfully, I am her teacher. This seems to get through to Jinbei at least. Alright. Come, Boa-san. Let's give them some privacy. Hancock hesitates. It's fine, Hancock, Lucy mutters quietly. Her voice shakes a bit. There's another hesitation, but finally Lucy hears her stand. I'll be outside if you need me. That nearly makes Lucy cry too. She has good friends. Eventually, Hancock's smooth gait and Jinbei's lumbering steps make it to the door, and Lucy holds her breath until they're gone. Rayleigh isn't the type to fuss. She prefers that right now. Do you regret your choice? Rayleigh asks lowly. Lucy shakes her head and sniffs, trying to clear the wetness from her voice. No. It was the right choice. It's just, I have lived with Shaki long enough to know that nothing irritates a woman more than being coddled, Rayleigh adds. And I think she's learned from me that feeling things is not a sign of weakness. Rayleigh has a low voice. It's soothing. I will not go easy on you these next 2 years, Rayleigh promises. If you work hard, we will make this sacrifice worth it. Biting her lip, Lucy nods. I know, I wouldn't have done it otherwise. I see. A pause. I am your teacher, Lucy. I will not treat you differently if you cry. Roger did, the day the crew was disbanded. It's not that, Lucy hiccups, and the movement makes her chest ache. I miss them. And inhale. I never told him I love him. Lucy exhales sharply, her breath shuddering, and she can't quite stop the tears now, so she sobs instead, elbows still covering her eyes. Rayleigh, in a show of patience and gentleness Lucy wouldn't have expected of him, just says nothing more, and hums Bink's sake until her cheeks dry and her breathing calms. As Zoro sees it, he has 3 options. Option 1. He gets off this island as soon as possible, and finds another place to train for the next 2 years while somehow staying under Marine Radate's best if the Navy thinks they're disbanded. Option 2. He stays on this island, and just avoids Mihawk. The guy is probably gone a lot anyway, so it's not a big deal. But it does seem degrading. Zoro doesn't like freeloading, and he doesn't like the idea of having Mihawk's potentially hostile presence so nearby all the time. Zoro doesn't like option 2. Option 3. He asks Mihawk to train him. Even thinking it makes his mouth taste bitter. The thing is, Zoro needs to get stronger. That's why he's not rushing out to find Lucy right now, or hunting her down. Because she's right, and she asked him to stay away and train, so he is. There's no better way to get stronger than to ask the strongest to teach you. It's just logic. But it is a sacrifice, one he never thought he'd make. If he asks Mihawk, and Hawkeyes says yes, then his dream will be forever tainted by the fact that he didn't get there on his own. His name will reach heaven as the greatest, sure, but he'll be the student that brought his master low, a bloodthirsty animal. That's not, has never been, how he wants his name to reach Kuina. Zoro never cared if he was on the side of the angels or not, or even about his reputation, but he does care about this. The strength is most important, sure, but the how matters too. It's a blow to his pride, sure, but something precious inside him as well. He told Lucy that he'd never do anything he'd regret. He's not sure he'll be able to say that after this. He'd never even consider it if it wasn't for Lucy. Lucy, who asked for 2 years to get stronger, challenging her friends to do the same. Lucy, who looked so solemn at Marineford, who believed in him even when he was tied to a crucifix, who has never, ever doubted him, and who he. Zoro closes his eyes. He thinks of all those nights on their ship's prows, observing the stars as they roam over the sky. He thinks of the euphoria of victory, the relief after Ini's lobby, and how the whole world bowed that day to a slip of a girl and her friends. He thinks of each and every one of his nakama, except maybe Sanji, and pictures Lucy's biggest smile. Zoro shoves the door open, and walks into the dining room. Both Perona and Mihawk are in there. Hawkeyes perched in his red and gold chair like no one's told him it's not a throne, and Perona floating above the table at the other end. Zoro stills his jaw, and walks halfway across the room. He faces Mihawk and, in the most respectful manner Sensei taught him, he bows, his forehead pressed against the cold stone floor. "Train me as a swordsman," Zoro demands. There's a moment's surprise, and then Mihawk's soft voice cuts through. I'm disappointed in you, Roronoa. Are you asking your enemy for instruction? Shame on you. It's dishonorable, to be sure. And Zoro knows that, just like Mihawk does. If there's one thing shared between them, it's a high value placed on personal honor. Get out of here, Mihawk dismisses. I have no use for a boring man. Zoro keeps his head bowed low, refusing to give up. He's committed to this, has been since he thought of it. He's going to walk out of here. Mihawk's student or the swordsman will have to throw him out. I was clearly overestimating you, Mihawk adds, disappointment edging the older man's voice. The words cut a little deeper than expected. Zoro doesn't move, refuses to. Mihawk notices as glass and silverware clink on the table. What are you doing? That's just disgraceful. Mihawk is fond of insults that actually matter to Zoro, oddly enough. I want to get stronger, Zoro responds, his teeth grinding, the admission of weakness difficult. It's not like he wants to do this. It's not like he has a choice. Mihawk is a means to an end. To some extent, Zoro's strength is too. He has to get stronger. Strong enough to stand by Lucy's side. Protect everyone and everything they care about. That's how he'll fulfill his dream, by making Lucy Pirate King. You were beaten by the baboons, Mihawk retorts disgustedly, and you couldn't get back to sea, so you came back here. I have nothing to teach to someone like that. That, at least, he has an answer to. Come back without defeating the monkeys first, not bloody likely. I defeated them, Zoro informs quietly, blood dripping over the bandages on his chest. A glass clinks against porcelain. You're the only head left to take here, but I'm not so stupid to think I'm good enough to beat you. I don't understand, Mihawk counters. Zoro gets the feeling he doesn't say that much. You still see me as an enemy, so why are you bowing to me, asking for my guidance? Because my captain asked me to get stronger, and there is no one stronger than you. Zoro raises his head now, knowing this should be said directly, and not through muffled speech, because I want to beat you. The room is silent for a moment and then Mihawk's frown cracks upwards into a smile and he laughs. Zoro's face goes slack with shock, and a little offense. He was serious. You want me to raise the swordsman who wants to kill me? Mihawk chuckles again, and it's so bizarre Zoro kind of just stares. You're weird. And what you're asking is nonsense. Mihawk raises his glass to his lips, and spares Zoro a glance. Even so, what you're doing is still embarrassing. I suppose that means you found something more important than your own ambition after all. Lucy's face flashes in his mind, an image from when they were flying up the waterspout to Skypia. Zoro remembers this man telling him to find a purpose for his strength, all those months ago in East Blue. Yeah, he supposes he might have done as suggested. It wasn't really intentional though. Lucy just sort of is Lucy. It's a good thing. It means your blades won't be empty anymore. Mihawk looks at Perona, jerking his head. Oi, ghost girl. Treat him, orders Hawkeye. Don't tell me what to do, whines Perona. The training will begin once you have recovered, Hawkeye adds, speaking directly to Zoro. Yes. Zoro's grinning so hard his face might crack in half. He doesn't say thank you, doesn't say anything at all. He just stands, turns, and walks painfully from the room as Perona tails him. As much as it sucks, the prospect of getting stronger is appealing on its own merit, regardless of anything else. In this way he'll be able to protect his friends properly. Prove himself so Lucy doesn't have to worry about him again. Usopp and Brook will never again have to sacrifice themselves on his behalf. Not after this. And really, what's 2 years? It's not like his feelings toward his friends will change by then. And he suspects the ones he has regarding Lucy are. Well, he suspects those are here to stay. What's with that smile on her face? Perona demands angrily. She's hovering in front of him, as usual. It's her favorite way to get in someone's face. None of your business, Zoro growls. So crabby, Perona whines, mock hurt. Zoro ignores her, she's irritating. Go away, he grouses. Happy as he is, and much as he did ask for this, he still feels very complicated things about this whole arrangement. He wants Perona to leave him alone. Do this, do that. All you two do is order me around? I've had enough. You hear? Don't order me to do stuff anymore. I'm serious, you wads need to take care of your own shit. Zoro slams his bedroom door in her face. Perona screeches outside for a moment before remembering she can go through walls. He looks around the room. It's bigger than any living quarters he's ever stayed in, possibly combined. He hasn't lived in the same place for any length of time since leaving home at 15. 2 years in this room seems more daunting than he wants to admit. But it's fine. Lucy asked them, for this time. They'll resume their journey then, and they'll be ready. More so than anyone who came before them. He really wants to see her. Where's that paper? He asks Perona she's been yelling at him, whatever. She stops mid-sentence, and then exhales, defeated. You're exhausting. Go sit on our bandages. You can read it there. Zoro obeys because he feels a bit drained. Invigorated too. He's in a weird mood. Perona tosses him the paper, and he immediately opens it to the full-page spread covering Lucy's actions. The picture is black and white, but he thinks he can see lines in her face that weren't there before, even slack with respect like it is. Her hair is as wild as ever. The Marines in the background look bewildered and scared. Lift your arms, Perona orders. Zoro obeys distractedly. He takes a closer look at the article this time, curious. There's a bunch of speculation about what all of this means, if it's a signal to one specific person or the world at large. The article considers at the end whether or not she's trying to get a message to Trafalgar, as he wasn't seen at the island, but had very publicly smuggled her away right under the Navy's nose. There must be some kind of relationship there, the author insists. Why else would he risk so much to help her? Zoro wonders if they met up again after he was sent from Sabaody. He doesn't know if the others were sent off at the same time as him, but, well, it would make sense. There hasn't been any mention of any of them anywhere in the papers. He's checked, and he asked Perona about it. It's a blessing in disguise, in a way. No one knows what happened to the rest of the Straw Hats. The world at large probably just assumes they abandoned their captain. Anyone who knows them would think it preposterous, but it's not unheard of among pirates. Not everyone is as devoted to their captain as they're to Lucy. Perona tugs the bandages tighter than his ribs would prefer, and he winces. Stop that, he snaps. Oh, excuse me while I provide urgent medical attention, Perona snips. If you were anyone else you'd probably be dead right now. Yeah maybe, but he isn't, so Zoro just grunts in acknowledgement, staring at Lucy's face. 2 years. 2 years until he sees her again. He wishes he could redo the last week or so they had together. He was so wrapped up in his own head he didn't even acknowledge the whole, well, she kissed him. And Brooke implied. Well, Zoro's not exactly sure. It was a confusing conversation. He may have had a concussion at the time. He's still not sure, exactly, what he feels for her. He's got nothing to compare it to. Looks like he has some time to figure it out though. I won't let you down, Lucy, he promises. I won't. I'll get stronger, and in 2 years, I'll see you then.